You're the leader. I need to know what you do, what you did, what you delivered. I'm a headhunter. I can put people in fantastic cyber jobs anywhere on earth.
Global.
Global.
What are those results that you're looking for? Money.
Did you generate 10 million this year? No. Why not? If you haven't made the money, you're in trouble. You ain't going to make it. It ain't going to happen. You're in trouble.
In order, I guess, to become a successful cyber partner, you need to be a Swiss Army knife.
It's tough. That's why you get paid loads of dough.
We're talking serious money.
Cash is king. 300k to 1.5 million. It's a money-driven business, recruitment, and the product is a person. I'm selling you. I said, I haven't a clue about cyber. He said, I don't give a damn about that. I just need you because you know how to put partners into this business. Find exceptional people rather than people with exceptional experience.
Let's go to AI.
Yes.
Take us there then.
The bottom half of the market will vanish, the top half will get even more expensive. What is it that makes a partner? What is it? 4 words, a little bit of magic.
What is a headhunter? How are you different from a recruiter?
Well, I used to be a recruiter many, many years ago, and I didn't enjoy it anymore. If people send me CVs and say, can I look at the market for them, I have no idea.
So, and that's the recruiter, right?
Yeah, that tends to be what you would say it was a recruiter, because they work in a firm, they get hundreds of CVs in, they distribute those CVs around the market. And I can't think of any. That's what I used to do 100 years ago, but to do that now would just be horrific for me. I just found it. I found it quite depressing, really. I really did, because I could only ever help 10%. I got so bored of sending really nice people, hundreds of people, rejection letters. Sorry, he didn't make it this time with this particular client or whatever. And I insisted on having that level of communication, but I didn't enjoy it at all. So I decided I wanted to work at the top level amongst a very small community of people that I could learn about, find out about. So when I was asked to go and get them, I knew exactly who I wanted to go and get.
So you were asked to go get them.
The best method to do that, I found, was headhunting, going specifically to a market. So it's a very proactive way of finding candidates.
So the biggest difference, if I'm listening correctly, I'm hearing you right, is that the recruiter is given the CVs. The CVs come in to the recruiter. So it's more reactive. They've got a pile of CVs in front of them.
Yeah.
And you are actually, you're probably quite rare, because a lot of recruiters don't even send out rejection letters.
They don't. They just drop the candidate immediately. It's a money-driven business, recruitment. I mean, make no mistake, it's about making money.
Yeah.
And the product is a person. And if you...
The product is a person.
The product is a person.
Yeah.
I'm selling you.
Research has shown that people are way less likely to buy from organizations. People buy from people who they know, like, and trust. If you are a leader in industry, if you are a founder or an entrepreneur, you will have a strong growth story. And the smartest investment that you can make with your time is to share that growth story. If you like the look of these podcasts and you would like to have the full studio and photography experience at our London-based studios, then reach out to me. You'll find the details in the description. So as a headhunter, as the word would suggest, you go hunt. And that's what you preferred. Go finding the right people. Absolutely. In the first place.
Yeah.
Way more strategic way.
Way more. More enjoyable.
More enjoyable.
It's far more enjoyable. We have both the client that we're working for and the candidate. So we have to balance that and work with that and make sure both parties are happy. And that's a challenge sometimes, which is quite enjoyable. And what you also do is you develop a strong relationship. at this level, at the level I deal with, which is predominantly senior, usually in that kind of 300K to 1.5 million kind of salary band. So generally it's leadership, and it's therefore quite a tricky exercise looking after both parties.
We're talking serious money.
Yeah.
This is partner level, right?
This is partner level in my sector.
What region?
Anywhere on earth.
Global.
And I should add, and for the last 20 odd years, I only deal in one sector, predominantly for one client.
One
globally.
sector, one client. What's the sector?
Professional services.
Right. And the client, are you allowed to say?
Well, I'm happy saying it. If they sue me, they sue me.
They'll never know, Trish. Tell us who's the client.
The client is Deloitte. And I've worked with Deloitte since 1996.
Oh my God. How many years of experience have you got? We're talking like 30 years?
40.
40 years.
4 decades.
How did you even become aware of cyber?
With cyber, for me, I became aware. I didn't become aware of it. I did some work for clients. If I take you back, I'll give you an example. Yeah. Okay, so if it take you back before you become a headhunter, the more sophisticated recruiting companies would be what was known as search and selection consultants. And what you then persuaded to do was you persuaded the client to fund an advertisement for what you were looking for. And there would be various media, both trade magazines, national newspapers, things like that you could put this ad in, and the client would give you £5,000 or £10,000 for the advert. Then you'd bring in all the response, and you'd develop a shortlist, a sort of classic recruitment exercise. And so I got a call one day from Amnesty International, and they said, "Can you come and talk to us? We need a head of technology." Anyway, so I got to Amnesty, and I said, "Okay, what sort of computers do you use?" And they just looked at me and said, "Can't tell you." So I said, "Okay, where are your computer systems based?" "I can't tell you." So I go, "Okay, we're off to a great start."
They didn't know, right?
Okay, what is the reach of your systems worldwide? Okay, how does that work? "I can't tell you." And at the end of the meeting, an hour long, I'd asked all these questions, and my piece of paper was blank, completely blank, no answers. "There's £5,000, Mr. Treasure. Go and run an ad, deal with the response, get me a short list of who you think are fantastic people, and we'll take it from there." And so I said, "Okay, you've got a deal. I'll do that for you." And that's what I did. We put an advert, and we chose the Guardian newspaper at the time because it was a little bit more socially aware, a little bit slightly left. And we got nearly 1,000 replies.
Whoa.
1,000 replies. And so for the following days after the advert, we were swamped in CVs. Swamped in CVs. And to help me précis those lists of CVs down, I used to use a Home Office graphologist. Okay, and I used to bring him in 2 days a week, and he would analyse everybody's handwriting, because in those days, no computers. Yes. You write a covering letter with your CV, "Please find enclosed my," and all I needed was a sentence, handwritten sentence.
What year were we talking again?
1985.
Wow.
And we précis the lists down, and we got a hardcore short list of 8 people.
From 1,000?
From 1,000, yeah. And we did that within about 3 weeks.
Based on?
Based on my gut feeling.
No.
And the handwriting.
And the handwriting.
And the handwriting.
So what was good handwriting?
Well, it wasn't about being good or bad. It was how you wrote. So where do you cross your T? If you do a Y, where do you loop the bottom? Do you loop the bottom? If you put an I in, which is obviously an I, do you dot over the top?
So what would it say if I didn't?
I've seen a graphologist manual that's that thick, and it's brilliant.
Well,
it's utterly brilliant. And we got down to 8. So I took the 8 in, and they took it from there. And I learned two things there. One, a huge number of response was from women. That was so unusual then. I mean, a long time ago.
What roles were you hiring for?
Head of IT.
Right.
And where did all these ladies come from? Where did they come from? There were loads. That was number one. And number two, it taught me how to find exceptional people rather than people with exceptional experience. If you see what I mean.
Yeah.
And when I went back and they took someone on who was female, which was stunning. And two, they said, sorry, we couldn't tell you anything. We're linked to every law enforcement agency on earth. We've got people in prison now, this minute, being tortured. We've got this, we've got this, we've got this, and no one must ever find out. So the security on that system was huge. And it was cyber. It's what we know it today. And if somebody had busted into those systems, I mean, goodness knows what damage they could cause.
So it's not that they couldn't tell you because they didn't know. They couldn't tell you because it was protected information.
It was protected information.
And when you talk about finding an exceptional candidate rather than a candidate with an exceptional experience, is that candidate, which happened to be a woman, may not have had the number of years or the depth of experience, but she was the perfect for that job. She was the exceptional candidate.
Yeah.
You said you followed your gut.
Mm-hmm.
What does that mean?
Just when you meet somebody that has, whatever they do, if somebody has a quality, then you can bring that quality out through conversation and through reference or whatever, but you can find that. So it's not really a gut feeling. It's you meet someone, don't you, sometimes, and you go, phew, God, they've got a brain, or my goodness, they were great at that, or whatever. You just find that thing, or things maybe.
You found this remarkable woman.
Mm-hmm.
They earn a lot of money.
Then not so much.
Really?
No, then those days, no, nothing. There was no real extra because, technology staff were in short supply or whatever. They got whatever, that grade is in the firm, and that was what you got. And that's what you expected as well, which made life easier too.
So is it now very lucrative if it wasn't back then?
Cyber now, I think, well, it depends how you define lucrative. If you want to, you can earn a very comfortable living. Cyber people earn a very good salary.
Yeah, up to $1 million, I think you said.
Well, I work with people who are earning much, much more than that.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
And how does that make your career lucrative? Because how does it work? How does let me cut straight to the chase. How do you make money?
Well, we used to get paid a lot of money. Our fee was high. It isn't anymore. I mean, we've been strangled. All you Big Four leaders out there, we've been strangled.
You tell them, Trish.
I sure do. I tell them every time they listen. Man, I used to get a third of their salary as a fee. So if they went in at 700,000, 800,000, 900,000 a year, it was a good fee, and you do a few of those in a year.
What changed that?
Well, they did. What happened was, where I worked, there was professional services firms. They tended to all be originally auditors. And in the old days, there was a big 10, then it went to a big 8, and then a big 6, and now it's known as the Big 4. And that's my domain. That's where I work.
Yeah.
And then
who are those Big 4?
Deloitte, a firm called PwC, a firm called KPMG, and a firm called EY.
Yeah.
And they're probably the biggest each of those firms are the major auditors on earth. And but I got involved with them in the mid-1990s in what was their fledgling consulting businesses. And technology had already started to be a big, big part of that. So I worked with consulting, and I just worked with, when it became a Big Four, I ended up just working for one of them because they didn't want me to work for the other three.
You're working with some seriously smart people.
Absolutely.
And yes, that's right. Your fees have been incurred because they are seriously smart people and they collaborated, even as competitors, they collaborated and they controlled those fees. But because they are super smart people and elite leaders, that also excites you as well. And that's why you do what you do. So where does the journey start then? Say it's Deloitte. Does it work like this? Do they come to you and say, Tresh, we need candidates. We've got positions. We've got open positions. Or do you go to them and say, I've got candidates. Let's open some positions. How does it work?
That's a really good question, actually. And it's driven in many ways by market conditions. So when the market's very bullish, the client will have already said, we need these people. So they'll go to their more favoured headhunters and so on to retain them to go and get these positions filled. If the market's tight, such as it is now, very tight market, in some of the bigger geographies like London, New York, and so on and so forth, then we can make a market with a candidate. So we will keep a track on what our firm is doing, where they are saying they want to be, how they want to get there, what's the journey, and then we'll think, well, maybe we can do something here. So we'll find somebody that can do that and introduce them so we make a market as well as react to a mandate to go and find someone.
Oh, this is what makes you really strategic. You make the market. So at what point of the year, there's a certain point of the year that they open up budgets, right? Yeah. Is there a certain point of the year we'll say, okay, we need to have that conversation now with Tresh? So
we're looking for people that might start early next year, maybe in the early months of next year, the first quarter, or maybe Easter time, so the second quarter of next year. We're looking at that already. And I'm looking on really both ways, where we might react to a mandate, where we know perhaps the client in their offerings or their proposition have got a gaping hole. They need to plug that hole and get somebody in to do that role. Or we know where they want to go. They haven't asked us to particularly go and find someone, but we know that they will need this person. And that's how we make a market with an individual.
So in Deloitte, for example, what Mike is saying, Q1 was over last month, correct?
Yeah.
So that means the firm would have seen how the year is starting to materialize, whether the year started well or not well. Therefore, shall we be looking at new roles, how it will continue? Yeah. Do we need to hire more? So this is the right time to discuss it now.
So when they are ready to talk to you and you've got a global remit, is there like a center of excellence that says, we're responsible for hiring globally, or does each of the region just know about you and call on you at the right time of the year?
I think it's about the relationships we built with various parts of the business. The thing with the Big Four is that they are limited liability partnerships. So the business is owned, or the equity, or the cash really is fundamentally what it is owned by the equity partners. So you have a firm that's got 100 silos of all doing different stuff all over the place, and the glue that kind of holds all that together are the partners. So we develop our relationship with those partners in the areas of the business that we can confidently operate. And that's mostly been, in more recent years, technology.
Yeah.
And then a very dear friend of mine, who we put into Deloitte, very turn of this century, was asked way back in about 2013, 14 to head up cyber. And I got a call and said, we've got a huge development program. We'd come through the 2008 recession, had the Olympics, everybody had a spring in their step again, and things started looking good. And so they asked us to have a look at helping them build their cyber business. And I said, I haven't a clue about cyber. I didn't even remember the Amnesty gig. I hadn't even remembered that as being sort of a touch on it. And I said, all I know about cyber is some schoolboy in Pinner. If anybody lives in Pinner, I do forgive me, I've got nothing against Pinner, but he's in his bedroom in Pinner and he crashes into the CIA systems, and it's all over the Daily Mail. I call them Daily Mail candidates. You know, and that's all I knew about cyber. Some naughty schoolboy who's very clever, you know, but he bust into CIA and they got half of America descending on his house in Pinner to arrest him and execute him and various other things. So he said, I don't give a damn about that. I just need you because you know how to put partners into this business.
Wow.
So I started cyber and it terrified me. All the stories I'd meet people and all the stories I'd hear about how people could wipe out the food chain in 2 days or some nonsense like that. I used to go home in the evening from the office and say, you never guess what. And I'd tell my wife or daughters or whatever, the latest cyber stuff. And they banned me in the end from talking about cyber. Don't come home and tell us all these terrifying things that could happen to the world or is happening to the world. How I think it's GCHQ, our Secret Service stuff down in Cheltenham, gets attempted, I think it's 1,700 times a day.
Wow.
That people try to bust into those systems. You know, that's just trying to find out our secrets.
So you're now being commissioned to hire for cyber.
Yeah.
They don't care that you don't know that much about it.
I know a bit more now.
You know a bit more now, but I heard you say, it's interesting when you said, he said to you or she said to you, I don't care that you have limited knowledge, I need you.
Yeah.
So the relationship is what they're buying with you, the trust. How did you start to build that?
Just be authentic, really.
Just be authentic.
Yeah.
All right, that's a little bit of a cliche. Tell me, how do you be authentic?
Well, I can't be anybody else than me.
Yeah.
So if I help develop a relationship with a candidate and help them into a firm at a leadership level, then I mean, if they hate me, they hate me. But if they don't, and we can maintain that relationship, then that's how it starts.
All right, let's go there.
I think the one expression people have used with me over the years, and one of the reasons why they've been happy with my work, is they think I'm a good judge of character. And that's critical because it's about cultural fit. In many, many ways, it's about cultural fit. And Arina knows the industry well, professional services well, and you know that if you come into a toxic culture or a culture that isn't conducive to working as you would want it to, you're going to struggle.
Yeah.
You're going to struggle.
A lot of people will understand, a lot of our viewers are in leadership roles, so they'll understand that term culture fit. But for those where it might be a new term, what do you mean? What's culture
Well, the
fit?
way the company operates, are they honest? Are they kind? I'm not talking about nice people here. I'm talking about kind people who are honest, kind, people who will help develop you, and a firm that will help leaders become better leaders. And everything is built around cooperation, collegiate, and it develops a culture that people respond to, are motivated by. And I can't remember how many partners I placed in Deloitte in the last 26, 27 years. It's got to be, 25, 30 partners.
Wow.
Only, apart from those that have retired, and apart from those very sadly who've passed away in that time, only 2 people have ever left.
Really?
Yeah.
What sort of age are they?
In the main, I would say you're looking mid-40s.
Mid-40s. And how diverse over your decades of experience? 25, 30 partners that you've placed. How diverse are they?
2 women I praised.
No way.
2.
And how many ethnic minority?
Probably 6 or 7.
Right, a bit higher.
Bit higher.
2 women.
2 women.
Has it changed over time?
Yes.
So it probably started one way.
I would I use research people, associates who work for me for years and who work with me for years, not for me, but with me, which is important in my place because there's certain things they won't let me do, and it's my firm. You know, they go, don't, for God's sake, don't let Tresh go anywhere near that crap. For God's sake, don't. You know, and all he can do is that. So let him go and do that, and we'll do this, this, and this. And I can't do research stuff. I hate it. So they'll research people, and they'll give me some people to talk to on the telephone. And in the old days, it was always men.
Always men.
And then suddenly, probably in the last 15 years, now and again, there'd be female. And now it's probably 50-50 for me.
And we're talking cyber still.
Cyber.
Take me on a journey, Tresh. This is so intriguing to me because I come from a background in hiring. Mm-hmm. So let's go on a journey. Let's start right at the beginning. You know that you need to go find them. Mm-hmm. Your colleagues will do the research mm-hmm. and uncover them. But where do they go to hunt? Is it LinkedIn? Is it professional networks? Is it
a bit of everything, really. Mm-hmm. I'm not overly fond of LinkedIn. I think people don't present themselves very well on that often. They come out with crass, silly statements, either in their descriptives of their experience or in even the job titles nowadays are just, I mean, people, what possesses people, for example, to call themselves a seasoned professional? So every morning when they leave, somebody tips some salt and pepper over it. You know, I mean, what is a seasoned professional? I mean, it's nonsense. I mean, I normally then switch to the next one and go. Now, I'm sorry, thousands of people out there who have put that in your description, but don't put stuff like that.
Seasoned professional
I'm
is
a
a
seasoned
big no.
professional. Oh, for me. I mean, other people might love it.
Marinated in years of experience.
Oh, and there's, I'm a something or other guru. Oh. And they go, no, you're not. You're not a guru. You're a cyber resilience specialist. You're not a guru. You know. Do you know what I mean? I mean, it's a rather glib way of putting it, but you know. And there's certain things that we switch off immediately. We do with some of these stuff. I mean, I was reading something the other day, and somebody was in my recruitment, or in the recruitment business, who's got his name, you know, Fred blogs, whatever. I put people into 6-figure jobs. Yeah. What on earth does that mean? Yeah. What on earth does that mean? So if you're on 24,000 a year, you say, right, you said you can get me 100,000 a year. Go on then. I mean, if you take that sort of logic, you know, it's utter nonsense. Why don't you just say, I can put people in fantastic cyber jobs? Do you know what I mean? Again, it's a rather glib, and whoever that person was going to seek me out now and shoot me. But, you know, do you know what I mean? I mean, people put these ridiculous things into their social media profiles, and then they put them on the CV. Crazy.
So it's interesting to me here that you've said you'll make a split-second decision because you have great gut feel and the experience. Title will influence your decision.
Photos are there. Photos are a necessary. People make decisions on photos.
Absolutely, we're human.
So we're human beings, exactly.
So will you look at the photo?
Oh yeah. But I deliberately train my mind just to close off. I don't care if somebody's 8'2" or 2'6". I don't care if they are 80 stone or 2 stone. I don't care what shape they are. I don't care if they got long hair, short hair, blonde, whatever. I have no interest in that at all. I just need to know about them, not just what they look like. And it took me a while to do that, because you'd look at a picture and you'll comment, you're human. Yeah. You just turn over. And I just was doing so many people a terrible misservice.
You can't ignore a photo, though, on LinkedIn. It's there. It follows the profile of everyone.
You can. You don't have to have one. But because 99% do, I mean, I've got my picture in there and I'm not overly keen on having my picture in there. I work in a hugely confidential, I don't have a website.
That's
for
right.
Michael Treasurer Associate.
You do not have
No.
a website.
No.
Who does not have a website? Well, you don't need the business just comes to you.
Yeah. I don't need a website.
But he's also knows cyber nowadays, so look at
You
that.
are the cyber guru. Oh, clearly, right? You are the cyber guru. But
Absolutely.
Tresh, we're told to have a LinkedIn photo, man. We're all told to have the photos. Like, it's almost, this is interesting to me because I would probably go the other way. I might say, why don't you have a photo? What's wrong with you? But so it's interesting.
Some people just don't like it, do they? They don't enjoy it. And it's got nothing to do with what gender they are or whatever they are. They just don't enjoy it. There is a huge tendency, and probably still, for people to make a decision on the photograph. And I think that's terribly unfair.
So what I'm hearing is, for a headhunter, you don't necessarily need the photo,
No.
but you better have a serious title.
You've got to have a proper title.
What's the proper title?
Well, I'm a headhunter. Say what you are.
Well, you need to be able to find them. So
I mean,
you
the
want cybersecurity partner in that title.
Yeah, I just want, if somebody was working in the Big Four,
Yeah.
I want them to say partner.
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of them say owner. Okay? A lot of them say owner, and I'll forgive them that.
So you
I don't
know
like
that means
it. Because, yes, they technically own it, but they don't really own Deloitte Global, 70 billion revenue, whatever it is. But do you know what I mean? But they do. They're an equity partner, so they do own it. So I'll be happy with that. But if they're a partner. If they're a director. If they're a senior manager. If they're a recruitment consultant, they're a recruitment consultant. They're not somebody who, it's got these ridiculous titles. And if you're really searching and you're searching on various criteria, I mean, why on earth would I put in these kind of weird job titles? I'm looking for senior partners in Australia, in cyber, in resilience, or in strategy, or in defence, or whatever it is. All you're doing by putting these absurd job titles in is you're taking yourself out the market.
candidates have got to be using keywords. We've heard of that before, keywords. For you, that means job title, name of the company. They're the basics and no gimmicky words. But what else might you want in addition so that they're visible to you, searchable? Okay,
well, firstly, I should say we don't use LinkedIn that much for search or research. What I prefer is I'll say to a researcher, can you find the niche firms in Australia, poor old Australia, sorry, I don't mean to pick on them, but I want to find a niche cyber firms in Australia for identity or resilience or IT strategy. I want the niche firms, not the other big four or the big other professional set, the niche firms. So, and they'll have a website.
Yeah.
So I'll look on the website for people putting together papers on various topics, and that's what we'll go for. We'll read those because, and invariably it might be 2 or 3 people that have put a paper together or something, and we might not be interested in all 3. Yeah. So we'll get a flavour from that of where they're at and what their thinking is around these topics. And of course, nowadays AI is the big sort of lead on from cyber, but so, and then invariably it will give a name at the bottom, or the authors of that particular paper. Yeah. And that's who we'll really start to look. And we'll double check that against maybe they're on LinkedIn as well, or maybe they're on some other business media site or something, or maybe they've done some work in the national press. Maybe they've done some work in trade magazines, and we'll look at that as well. If we see their name coming up often, and we like what they've written, they're articulate, clearly intellectually sound, that's much more valuable than LinkedIn.
So it's the communication skills, but written communication skills.
I like that, and then we'll talk. But the written stuff kind of gets us into the conversation then. But without the right written stuff, we'll never find them. So it's really important.
So this is interesting.
So can I say one other thing on that?
Yes.
Just one other thing. That's the crux of the matter. It's not about winning an award. You know, it's about what you do. Okay. So it's about what you write. It's about how you present yourself to your market. Substance.
How do you approach them? How do you get them on the call? How do you start the conversation?
The first few sentences are critical, really, because they're either going to think, blimey, what's this about? You know, and then they start chatting away. And we've got to put somebody at their ease very quickly.
Well, how do you even get to the conversation?
Well, once we just find a mobile number. We just phone them.
So you've got the website, you've got a niche website.
Yeah. Well, that's invariably their firm's site.
That's right.
Very rarely does a firm have the bravery to put their own contact information on there. So we'll then have to find someone that may have worked for that firm who may have that person's mobile number.
Oh my. So you've got to find an insider who's willing to share, almost act as the channel to the partner that you need to get to. So who could that person be?
I can ring up people who have made a switch from consulting to corporates and ring them up and say, oh, do you remember we last... And they'll remember my name. And luckily I have a memorable name.
You do, Trish.
It's just an unusual name. So that helps because they might remember that and go, oh, do you remember? You know, so tell me, you know, you're putting a cyber program together for whoever you want. Who do you rate at the moment in the market? Who's banging on your door to come and do your work for you? Who's good? Where are they working? Are they working in the Big Four? Are they working for Microsoft? Are they working for Accenture? Are they working for a big professional services firm? Or, you know, who's good? And they go, I tell you what, lady called Arina, you must talk to her. She's absolutely perfect in this area. You haven't got a number.
So now what you're saying...
She'll never know where I got it. So
oh
that's
my.
it.
So now if I'm hearing you right, this is a bit of a cliche, but very true. Your network is your net worth. So you've used your network to go ask those very blunt, you know, who do you know type of, which you can only really do with someone who likes you and trusts you to be able to share names like that. And then, but of course, that person has got a network, and then the person that they're referring you to knows quality people. So it's a network effect.
It just grows. It's huge.
Your network.
I mean, I'm linked into about 2,000 people. God knows how. I have no idea how I am, but I am. And yet, I mean, that's phenomenal. So if you go to that sort of, what's that thing in life? You know, you somehow know every sixth person or something like that.
Sixth degree, I think.
Something like that. You know, I mean, it's extraordinary. So that 2,000, I don't know how many you multiply that by. And I very rarely go back through it. But somebody who works with me would. And they've got their own network. So it's network to network to network and building. And the fact is, if you take a particular geography, there's a very strong chance that only 5 or 6 people could do the job anyway that we're looking for. And we should know them.
Oh, it's a small world.
Yeah.
It's a very niche
small world
area that you're always hiring for. There'll be a small network. They'll know quality people. So one of your sourcing channels, probably one of the better ones, strongest ones, is referrals then.
Yeah.
Do the people that give you the names of others, do you incentivize them?
Informally, yeah. Or go out, have dinner or something. And then you get, thanks for that, it's great, let's go and have dinner or something. We'll go somewhere nice and have dinner. But that's all, really. I never financially.
Well, you never know if you need to call someone in the future, or it's almost like it is a relationship, right? So you do something for someone, and who knows, maybe you need some help in the future.
Yeah, this is very much a relationship business. So referrals, I'd say your strongest sourcing channel, because people are not going to refer people that they've got a diet. I mean, they're judged on the people that they refer you.
Absolutely. They're not going to give me a duck.
That's it.
They're just not going to do that, I mean, unless they hate me, but I've never come across that.
So then what you're saying is that then doesn't become a cold call because someone's opened that channel of communication.
It's a sort of warmish call, yeah.
Warmish, yeah.
And then if I can hook the individual when I call them, nothing to do with cyber per se, it's just on a human level, just like you ring somebody up and you have a conversation, and it could be about anything.
It's interesting how a headhunter uses the word hook the individual. I like it, Trish. Your language is so strategic. What does hook mean? What does that mean?
Well, I suppose it gets them interested.
Right.
Gets them interested. So suddenly they don't know me from Adam.
Yeah.
They don't know me from anyone. Suddenly they get a call and have a conversation with this person. And then probably when the call's finished, if it's finished in a positive fashion, I've arranged to meet them.
You're calling someone, they don't know who you are, they don't know how you've got their number. So the first thing is red flag, especially if they're working in cyber, because we know you cyber leaders, you're really anxious and protective about privacy. So what is your opening line? This is the $3 million question. What do you say?
Oh, that's a really interesting one because it kind of changes every time. It depends what mood I'm in that morning or afternoon. I'm a huge believer in circadian rhythms. Okay, so I know in a 24-hour period the part of the day where my brain functions best. I can think quicker on my feet. I can twist and turn, I can pirouette, I can do all sorts of wonderful things in that 2 or 3 hour period in the day. So generally, I know when that is for me.
When is it?
Early evening. Early evening. For me, about 5 it kicks in. It could have something to do with, I tend to have a large brandy around that time.
So you circadian rhythm.
Circadian rhythms.
I like it.
And bourbon. Oh, man, that's where you want to be at. No, I promise you. But no, seriously, I it's not that. I really don't drink. And if I don't feel it, I don't do it.
Amazing.
I'll wait till the next day.
Do you normally have a mobile number?
Always.
Always a mobile number.
Yeah.
They see the number ringing. They don't recognize it.
People still answer.
Really?
Yeah.
Damn, I don't. But they do. Okay. They could be...
Let me ask you one.
Yeah.
On that subject. If you get a call, it comes up with 07, blah, 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 and what have you, and you think, God, who's this idiot? Click, block it. Would you do the same if you got a text?
If I get a call on my iPhone, it actually automatically routes them through to voicemail. So I don't have to pick it up. If it's important and they need to get hold of me, it'll go through to voicemail and I'll then know who it is. I'll call them back.
Okay.
Text, I'll read it. And if it sounds serious, and if it evokes curiosity, yeah.
I think curiosity killed the cat. You're absolutely right. That's why people respond.
So it's a text.
So sometimes we text first.
Yes.
And say clearly, at the end of the text, would you mind if I can give a call? Let me know when it's convenient. But sometimes I just bust in, and I tell you what, 80% of people pick it up.
Pick up the phone. What would the text say?
I would just say, I've been, hello, blah, blah, blah. You've been recommended. I have a word. And as soon as you say the word recommended.
Yes. That's the key
that's
word.
That's the key word.
Right. I can understand that.
Yeah.
Curiosity.
And then people are, well, I've been recommended.
Exactly. It works for me every time on LinkedIn.
Why?
Yeah.
So they'll answer, why have I been recommended? Well,
Right.
somebody said you were a good dude, whatever. So, you know what I mean? And they'll curiosity killed the cat.
Text I get. I like that. Phone, once they picked it up, first few words?
First few words, I introduce myself. I'm so sorry to bust in. My name is Treasure. I work, blah, blah, blah. Somebody's recommended that I speak with you on that particular project I'm involved in? Is it convenient now? I mean, really quite formal in that respect. And if they say, oh, no, but they will always give me an alternative time. And 95% of the time, they will then pick up on that new time they've given me.
Because they're committed.
They're committed, yeah.
When you call, so you established a connection, right?
Yeah.
Are there any red flags that you can get?
Yeah,
from
I'm
the
looking.
candidate, yeah.
3 words. What I do and what I look for is flow, confidence, and effort. Whether it's on a telephone call or whether it's in person.
Yeah.
So I'm looking for them to respond confidently, even if it's to tell me to go away. They're not interested. I'm looking for they're able to sort of articulate something quite quickly. So that flow into. And are they making any kind of effort here to engage with me?
Yeah.
And if they're bang on for those 3, I'll talk to them till the cows come home.
Have there been cases, and I don't know if you want to tell a story or just give examples, when you picked up the phone, you introduced, and then you said, oh my God, no, that was a huge mistake.
Yeah. Oh, goodness me. I put the phone down and thought, good God, I wish I hadn't done that.
What's the red flag?
Well, that they just, they're either rude.
Wow.
Or a little offish for no apparent reason. People have a thing about estate agents. People have a thing about recruitment consultants. And they don't know the intricacies of the difference between a headhunter and a recruitment and all that kind of stuff. And we've only got ourselves in the industry to blame because of our obnoxious and poor behaviour often that you said earlier on in our conversation that you've never, as a recruiter, ever sent somebody a letter saying, I'm terribly sorry you haven't got.
No, I didn't say I don't.
No.
I said most recruiters don't. I always did.
You always did, absolutely. So, we don't have the greatest of reputation.
That's right.
And as I said, you are the commodity. And a human being doesn't like thinking of themselves as a commodity. And so people can be very offish. Now, if you're going to be offish, well, that's okay, but I can't really handle that. So let's be right offish and let's thank you so much for your time, but I don't think this conversation needs to go any further. Have a good evening and click, and I never speak to them again.
Well, this goes back to what you were saying about...
Some call me back. Even after that, they call me back and say, oh, I'm terribly sorry, I didn't mean to, but I'm a little bit, blah, blah, blah. We got me at a bad time. My cat just jumped out the window as you were speaking or whatever, And they'll come back with a reason why they were offish.
Which is fine.
And if they do that, I'll give them 10 out of 10 and I'll talk to them till the cows come home again.
Yeah, you'll like them even more. But
Absolutely.
then those that don't, there's no love lost because like you were saying, culture fit. There's no culture fit.
I'm incredibly polite.
And if they're not, you know that they're not the right fit for Deloitte.
Don't want to know.
Yeah. All right.
I don't want to know. And it's a form of misplaced arrogance often, I think.
Yeah.
Hang on a minute. I'm talking to you about something that I could improve your career tenfold here. And yet you're being... So if you don't want to talk about it, then we won't. It's not a problem.
This is it.
I've got 5 other people.
Especially if someone was to say to me, you've been recommended by so-and-so, I'd be a little bit more careful about how I
absolutely
project.
They might be one of your clients.
Gosh, yes. It's a small world. These are candidates that are not actively looking.
Very, very rare do I, and somebody said, goodness me, fancy you calling me now, I'm actually looking.
No.
Yeah, very rare that happens.
Exactly. So then
I love it when it does. Oh,
it makes life easy.
Love it when it does.
Tell me.
Makes my life a lot easier. Yeah.
But most of them, and I think you would prefer it this way, they are happy in the job that they're in because they are killing it probably. Yeah. They're doing really well. That's the man or woman that you want.
Absolutely.
Right? So here comes in the headhunter. You're now having to convince them that it's a good investment of their time to have this conversation with you and open up a dialogue that they've never thought about having until this second that you've said, you're in need, someone else could do with your skills, and I can make it very attractive for you. So couple of things here. Number one, they're not actively looking, they're happy where they are. And we alluded to this as well, because they're not looking, they're not on LinkedIn, they haven't got the profile that's got all of their love and attention. But let's put LinkedIn to one side, because you said it's not your number one sourcing channel, but the places where you do look are, where can we find content? What content have these people created? There's written content like articles and newsletters and blogs. One up from that is probably video content, even better, right? So you're Googling their name.
Well, now video content's huge. I mean, like we're doing today, I mean, everybody does this kind of stuff. So if we find out that there's a particular podcast about a particular cyber subject, and we're in the cyber market, then we'll look at that. Yeah, sure. I mean, that gives us a fantastic reference. You know, I mean, after this, nobody's going to want to talk to me ever again.
You're going to be in. They won't find you. You've got no website, so they'll have to.
So that, and I haven't got a website. So, but no, you know what I mean. So, I mean, I mean, it's fantastic now. But I still think even that. People do take their branding thing too far, and you just become fed up with them, and you just turn over. But if they pitch all that right, and then it's an incredibly helpful way of doing it.
And we talked about how events can be positive and negative. So there are some, for example, there are so many award ceremonies now for cybersecurity, and you can have, it's almost a fragmentation where you can have an award because you are a red-haired, blue-eyed female cyber specialist.
Yeah.
For example.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, there are also events and awards which are useful for you to find the right candidates. And so you would still look at events.
We would look at events. I mean, I can't think of anything more hideously boring than some of these events where, you know, you turn up at some huge conference hall and there's all little kiosks. I've done them myself years and years ago, you know. And God, they're wearing, aren't they, awful things. And yet other people love them. They'll fly to the moon to go to the event, you know, and then when they've done that, they'll whip over to another event on Mars and they'll do this, that and the other, and they spend their whole life presumably in an aeroplane. I mean, God, they must get most of their flights free, the amount of air miles they do. And the awards now, I mean, for me, there's one award in professional services, and that's the MCA Awards. That's Management Consulting Association.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And that, if you're in that, then I look at the award. If you've got other awards, and people will hate me saying this, but some are, I mean, they're not pointless, but they don't boost your career in any way. People under this crazy impression that because they won an award, that they're going to get paid $50,000 more than the other person who didn't get the award, and that just doesn't happen. Well, it does happen, but if it happens, I don't want any part of that. You know, unless it's a really. If you win an Oscar, you're going to get paid a fortune in your next movie. If you win maybe a BAFTA, you might up your fee in the next movie. So, you know, but it's in film, it's the Oscar. Yep. You know, that's what it's all about. It's not, you know, the guy who's the editor of the Uxbridge Gazette Entertainments division saying, boy, that was a good film, you know, with the greatest respect to him or her. But if somebody's got an Oscar, you sit up and go, blimey, you know, must be good. Let's go and see the movie, you know, because they got an Oscar, and you want to go and see somebody performing at the top of their ability. That's an award.
Yeah.
It's not an award. You know, I'm already seeing AI awards. I mean, good God, you know.
Are you? AI?
Yeah. Somebody I know won AI Man of the Year. I looked at them, fair enough, you know.
Well,
what does that mean? What does that mean? If you say to me, that helps me with my business development, then that's cool. But okay, I'll give you that, but it means nothing to me.
I liked what you were saying earlier about the written content and the video content, because I would see that as being a digital asset.
Yes.
It never disappears. Once it's on the web, it's there forever.
It's there for everybody on earth to look at.
And I use that word asset deliberately because it makes them more valuable.
Absolutely.
Not only their personal brand, but more valuable for the brand that they work for. Nothing, and I'm a bit biased, but I don't think anything other than long form video content could really give you a sense of what that person's like, other than meeting with them face to face.
But kind of the written work is pretty good.
Yes.
It's pretty good. If you're brave enough and confident enough to put together with a colleague, I mean, perhaps Arina and I sat down and developed a white paper about resilience, say, and it was good. You know, we looked in there, pat on the back here, that ain't bad, you know. And then we put it out for the world to see. The world is going to have an opinion about us and our ability to, you know, to articulate that subject. And if we're there or thereabouts, goodness, it boosts. Now, if you ally that today with being on a podcast about that subject matter or whatever, that you give people not only a chance to read what's happening in your head, but how you look and how you present yourself. I mean, boy, that's so cool.
Double whammy.
It's a wonderful one, yeah.
Authority. It's authority building, having these digital assets.
Confidence and authority building and getting the world to know all about you. And it's not winning, you know, Northeast Cyber Person of the Year award or you know, the Glasgow Enterprise AI Man of the Year or something like that. None of that. This is you. This is the essence of what you do. So if I'm looking at, say, cyber strategy, then really as a greenfield situation, I mean, I know loads of people in cyber strategy after all these years, but I'd look in the strategy firms particularly. So I'd look in McKinsey, I'd look in Boston, I'd look in the mainstream strategy firms, because like it or not, you know, they have some very, very competent people. And that's what I need. That's where I'm looking. So I'm going to look there first.
Amazing. I love this. This is a real little masterclass that's coming together. Actively looking for a job or not, I think every leader should be writing.
Yeah.
I think a big chunk of their time should be spent writing, communicating their insights, sort of raising the collective intelligence, if you like. They have a duty to do that,
Absolutely,
right?
Yeah.
Does their personal brand no harm? Creating these digital assets. One level up from that, and I think it's interesting you said that everyone could be or talking on video as well, or could be podcasting. They're not, right? So because they're not, anyone can write. Well, no, actually, you know, that is a skill in itself. But not everyone is confident enough to come onto camera and do this.
Sure.
Again, therefore, they stand out even more.
Yeah.
So I would say long-form content asset building.
I also think we're talking here about the content and again the substance, because we have so many people talking or creating content without necessarily having a lot to say.
Yeah.
So we're also talking about people and the leaders and the responsibility of sharing if they have something to say.
Yeah.
So, of course, and I find myself fortunate to be here, and I hope that in my 20 years of career and working in technology, I can stand for something, and I've accumulated some experience to share. But yes, but of course, when you talk about building the brand and digitizing your reputation, it's a huge asset. And ultimately, I think it creates a lot of pull in the market versus us going and pitching the business. Instead, us creating those communities of expertise or experts where people get to know you, get to know what you stand for, what you deliver, and that will create better conversations, better first conversations with the potential clients.
Absolutely, but there is one other thing I need to say, and I know we work in, everybody's trying to be very nice to everybody, and they're all trying to be very kind, and they're trying to do all these wonderful things, and that's great. I've gotten there's no problem with any of that. But what I need to know about when I talk to an individual, I need to know what they did.
Right.
Okay. So when I talk to, I need to know what you do, what you did, what you delivered.
But we're told to say the word we, the team. No. That won't get you the job. So you want the word I.
I always want I.
And then to follow on.
I put the team together and we did that.
There you go. There's the
I did it. I put it together and we delivered this. I couldn't have delivered it without you, but I put it together. That's what I want to know.
And then what other substance would scream at you to say, oh, this is a winning candidate? What other data? Is it numbers, percentages, achievements? Intellect. This could actually apply to LinkedIn or to a CV. You're quite strategic. You don't want volume of candidates. Mm-hmm. You want a handful of the right people. Mm-hmm. But I've seen this time and time again. You look at a CV, and I used to work at Microsoft and Google, and I've seen some pretty horrendous CVs or resumes for our viewers in the States. I've seen some big mistakes on them. What are your tips then for a resume or a CV where you get across? They should be using the word I didn't know that before. I would have thought it was we. I did, and then we built. But what other...
If you're the leader, how can it be we? Doesn't make sense. Okay. You're the leader.
Okay.
Not we the leader. I am the leader.
And then what information do you want me as the leader? I built. What do you want me to tell you?
I want you to then be very humble, mm-hmm. and then talk how you built the team and et cetera, and then delivered. So I like intellect. And if somebody is intellectually sound, should we say, then they're going to invariably be very humble people because they have a supreme confidence. And it's really how they then, I'm recruiting you, and then you will then build a team to deliver. But to start with, it's you. Yeah. And so the CV has to reflect that as well.
So delivery, all
I
the achievements.
Did this. I formed the team and we delivered this. I did the next. I did this. I did this. And then, but always keep the we in as well for the delivery.
Yeah. And what sort of delivery achievements really stand out?
That's an interesting one.
Yeah. And what are those results that you're looking for?
It's in my world.
Yeah.
In absolute honesty.
Yeah.
Money.
Did you generate revenue?
Did you generate 10 million this year? No. Why not? If the market's there, why not?
So it's like I was saying, it's numbers and percentages.
Yeah. And then they'll launch into why not. And nobody's ever had the guts to say, because I had a crap year. Okay. There'll be all sorts of reasons they'll come up with why not. And many of the reasons are absolutely true, but I've then got to make a decision on that. So if you've gone to a firm and they're recruiting you and allowing you to build a team and then not helping you to build that team, then it makes no sense because you're not going to achieve your financial target.
So I think it's okay to have a bad year.
Yeah.
As long as you can articulate what happened.
What happened? Yeah. People out there right now are having a tough time. Some aren't, because when there's a sort of kind of perhaps an economic downturn, there'll always be some people who will take advantage of that.
Yeah.
As much as there are people who will suffer from it. So there will be a reason why people are not achieving this year. But if they don't, I mean, that's a big problem for me. If they haven't achieved their financial targets, I've got a real problem. I might like them. I might think there's something there. They've got the essence of something. I like, the way they present, all that kind of good stuff. but hang on a minute, if I'm putting you into this role, the expectation is you're going to make 10 million bucks this year. And if you didn't, why not? And then I have to make a decision on the reasons why not. Are they your fault or not?
So the concept of vulnerability as a leader.
Yeah.
And if they can't be winning all the time.
Yeah.
And you would, I think, based on all your years of experience, will see if a leader does not want to recognize the failure, or they're just invincible, which is not possible.
Yeah.
Instead, it's better to be honest or to come and articulate what happened, and it will not harm you as a potential candidate.
I think so. I said something to, it's a really, professional services is a tough, ruthless world.
Yeah.
You know, and okay, everybody's now desperately trying to be nice and kind to each other and all that kind of stuff. And I dig all that. I love it. You know, people need to go into work or be in an environment where they can respond and be happy and all those things, of course, like everybody else. But it's ruthless. Commerce is ruthless, and it's about money. It's about money. If you don't generate revenue, you ain't going to make it. It ain't going to happen for you. And a firm, the client I work with, who I mentioned earlier on, is brilliant at that. They're brilliant at nurturing people and helping people to achieve that financial goal. And it's one of the reasons why I've stayed with them, because I like the culture. You know, that they really are helpful. They don't want you to rush out and, you know, they've got the whip on your back every, you know, second of every day from the moment you start. That they will work out the strategy with you and see where that revenue is going to come. And that's all part of the recruitment process anyway. But if you haven't made the money, you're in trouble. In professional services, you're in trouble.
So you are everything, Tresh, because culture fit is everything to grow an organization that is kind. And a lot of times that's just corporate ball. Okay. We know that people talk about creating an environment where there's psychological safety. But in reality, it does boil down to numbers. And it does help, though, if you genuinely work for an organization like Deloitte and you've been with them for decades and you've got, you know, you're authentic and you're saying, no, this is a sound environment. That's why I've been with them for decades. Brilliant. But you are then finding people, you're building on that. You're building and saying, okay, we need to find more people that are going to sustain this culture for them to be able to thrive in this culture. Right. And they can make money. Brilliant. So you've got these drill down questions. And what I love is you're going to the right people and the right places to get really targeted, to find those gems. And then you bring them in. You've got them in front of you. You've asked them the drill down questions. Right, you didn't perform at this time. Why didn't you? Let's work this out. But you've got that gut feeling, thanks to your decades of experience. So you're connecting all the dots here. So now you've built up a profile of somebody. You've coached them. You're over halfway there now because you built them the story.
That distinguishes us. So I'm told. I can only react to what I'm told that we do. And we mentor them, I think is perhaps a better word, through the process. It takes about, if you're putting a partner into the Big Four, and the client I work with particularly, it's going to take 6 months. Typically 6 months, sometimes a year. I'm working with somebody now who probably was about 14 months ago was their first meeting. So it just doesn't happen overnight. And an equity partner is a slightly different kettle of fish anyway. There's all sorts of legal issues and so on that have to be in place. So, there's a long time. And in that time, they might have 12 interviews. And of that 12 interviews, there will be 6 that we call a box tickers. In other words, if one of them doesn't tick the box, you don't get the job. Okay, so those 6, they have to have ticks. The other 6 will be socialization type meetings, people you will come across in the course of your work that you'll need to get on with. You might not like necessarily one another, but you'd have a respect for the skills and experience and so on. And that period takes about 6 months. And then to finalize it all, what we've been working on in the background is the business case of the individual and start to build that based on conversations had during these interviews. And we help them build that business case. And it'll end up with a six-slide PowerPoint presentation. Because the last part of the interview process is what is known as the panel. And you go in as a candidate and you present your final business case to a panel of maybe 4 or 5 people. That might not have been involved at all in the interview process up to that point. They'll come in from any other part of the firm. But remember, I deal with a limited liability partnership, and the equity partners own the business. So although they might be an auditor and you might be a cyber expert, they're still your business partner.
Yes.
So they still are entitled to be part of the process of bringing in a partner. So you do this last stage, and you have to pass it. It's a bit like the Pope, when they choose a new Pope, grey smoke comes out the Vatican chimney, and he's done. We've got a new Pope.
1 year later.
Yeah.
And with me, I can see over in Fleet Street the grey smoke come up after the panel. We've done it. We got them in. And there you go.
And let me qualify the tick box exercise a little bit as well. And it is coming back to the fact that you are interviewing with the partners.
Yes.
And it is a closed group of people.
Yeah.
Therefore, when Mike says that everybody has to agree to this, that means they want to work with you.
Yes.
And they want to share the entire pie with you and give you a piece of a pie.
Yeah.
They're willing to share that piece of a pie, the business, with you. Therefore, it's not just how you answer the questions, the tick box exercise, but it's making sure that people want to work with you and they see you as a colleague in the future.
Okay. I think the corporate world is incredibly different. If I was recruiting for a big financial services firm like the Prudential Insurance or Barclays Bank, or if I was a big, huge retailer, it's very different. The other reason I work in a limited liability partnership is if you take a firm that's at the top of that big 4 tree, they've probably got thousands of people in their organisation who earn in excess of 300,000 a year.
Yes.
If I walked into a corporate, you wouldn't have anything like that. Anything like that. In those same numbers.
Yeah.
The pyramid's very tight at the top.
Yeah.
Whereas in the big 4, you've got leaders like that.
Oh, wow.
And dropping down. That's what I was saying earlier on about various silos. So you've got cyber, you've got technology transformation, you've got people and change, then you move into the audit side of the business, corporate finance, tax. They're incredibly interesting firms. The intellectual capital in many of these firms is stunning, and which is why I made that point earlier on about we search for intellect.
Yes. Yes.
It was a very popular expression today is imposter syndrome. And when I first started in the Big 4, it blew me away. I just had I used to dominate every single client that I ever had when I worked with corporates. The minute I did my first engagement for a consulting firm in those days, there were 10 of them, it just blew me away. I thought, can I handle this? I've got to think. I've got to do stuff. I've got to read stuff. I can't, BS this all the time. I've really got to do this, And then I went off and by pure luck, I got a partner into one of the firms. It wasn't the client I work with now. It was one of the other. It was the leading client of its time and still one of the leading clients. And it was just pure luck. It was pure luck.
That you found the
That
right
I found the
partner.
person, and that they offered and took them on and paid me a huge fee. It was pure luck. And as you know, it's either the walk of doom, I call it, or the work of joy, is the walk when your client says to you, "Oh, I'll walk you to the lift." And you're back down into sort of small talk.
Yeah.
And the firm, at the first firm I worked for, the consultant that took me to the lift said, "Don't ever bullshit us again."
No.
He knew. He knew immediately I was an idiot.
That's a lesson
A
learned.
lesson I learned. So then I went and I thought, I can't fool these people. I can't behave as I used to behave. And I can't go out at night and drink 4 bottles of champagne and get up for a 7 o'clock meeting.
No way.
I
No.
can't do any of that anymore. But that's compensated by the fact that you get fat fees, so which isn't quite the case now.
Yeah.
I say again, big fool. But it taught me a huge lesson. When I first started in the Big Four, I had my hair cut. My daughters always take the piss out of me for this, but I got somebody to make me a pinstripe suit and all that kind of nonsense. And I think I used to have my shoes made in Jermyn Street, and they've still got the size template there if I ever wanted a pair again. And they've also got the size template for Frank Sinatra and and stuff like that. I mean, just wonderful, beautiful British stuff.
Yeah.
Takes me back to my childhood. But and then I thought, I can't do this nonsense. I just can't do this. So
you
I chucked it
reverted
all
back
away.
to...
Yeah. I was in Miami, right? So I was on holiday with my wife, and we went to Florida, and we took out a car that was called a Selby Mustang, which is an iconic American car. And they had a Selby Cobra, AC Cobra, which was a very sporty job. And it was the last year, because you hired them through Hertz. Okay, so we drove down to Miami in this Mustang, which was, everybody stopped us on the way for a picture. And I got down to Miami, and I was sitting on South Beach. And I was
My God, you like to travel and live in style, Trish.
And I was staying at a place in South Beach called the Avalon, which is an Art Deco. It's beautiful, beautiful. There's one lady who saved them all from demolition. These beautiful hotels, and we were staying in South Beach, and Mrs. was feeling a bit tired after the drive down, so she went to bed. And I said, well, "I'm going to go out for a drive and drive this car around Miami. It'd be cool." So as I came down, the concierge in the hotel said, "Do you live in Kensington?" I said, "What?" He said, "Do you live in Kensington?" I said, "Well, I live in Earls Court, which is a hop, skip and a jump from Kensington." Yeah. He said, "You near Gloucester Road?" I said, "No, what are you?" "Yes, yeah, 5 minutes." He said, "I've seen you."
No.
Yeah. He said, "I've seen you walk past the hotel." I was over there. 3 years I spent at this hotel in London. And I used to see you walk past the hotel. And
In your pinstriped suit.
Absolutely. But suddenly I'm in an iconic Mustang. Okay, I'm in an old pair of jeans and stuff, but he's recognised me from that. And I just said to the missus, right, the suits are gone. I'm going to be what I am again, which is what I am now. And it was just extraordinary, that little thing. I don't own a suit. I look as I do, and I have done for many years. I gave my suits away. Somebody's walking around with some real smart gear, but many years ago, and because this is how I always look like. And then,
But now that we have touched on how you look, let's just go there a little bit, right? Yes, you do not look like the normal city slicker. Mm-hmm. You're walking into a Deloitte in their big glass buildings, as you do, and you look like nobody else. So you're memorable because of that. Some might say, yes, but that's memorable for all the wrong reasons. But how do you get away with that?
Because we deliver the work.
Right.
That's That's it. If they don't want to work with me, they don't want to work with me. Does it worry me? No. Has it worried me in the last 20 years? No. That's a lie. Maybe 20 years ago it would worry me a bit. The last 10, 15 years doesn't bother me at all. And so if they have a problem with it, when you analyse the problem, it's a bit daft.
Yeah.
Well, I don't want to work with him, doesn't wear a suit. I mean, what the hell's that got to do with anything, you know?
But he brings in the partners that get the results and make us money.
Yeah, and I've probably, it's all the maths, isn't it? If a partner is asked to bring in $5 million a year, and I've put 30 into them over 25 years, that's a lot of money. Multiple millions that the people we've introduced to the firm have then generated for the firm. Now, they've got a load of people like me. I'm not the only one by any means. They use all sorts of headhunters, and I'm sure you've met good headhunters and bad. But I quite like being provocative. Just suits my personality.
You certainly stand out. You're certainly memorable. I just want to backtrack for our viewers that are listening to this. Let's recap on what you do, because this is quite pivotal. You bring in a partner. They may not look great on paper. You make them look good on paper. That's the first step, because you need to put that on the desk of the partner. The partner's pretty much going to trust your judgment anyway. So you just need to tick the boxes. Is it 1 page, 2 pages? Is it
2 or 3 pages tops, really.
Yeah.
You don't want to bore anybody to death, you know. Some people would write an essay or a book about what they do, and you think, I want to know about I.
Result driven, we said the numbers and the percentages. How did I make money? It's fine to say I. Next step is you've got them into the hiring process. You tell them what the hiring process will look like. And we were saying anything from 6 months to 12 months. It can be 6 to 12 interviews. The box tickers are your partners, and every single one of them must tick the box. And then you've got these social interviews. Can be with people anywhere in the business, right? You are prepared to put your time and investment into an individual over a long period of time. Then we're talking minimum 6 months. And then in this journey, no one quite knows them as well as you do. And I remember you saying to me, I just remembered you were saying that I don't even talk to them about business in the first meeting.
No.
You don't. Because they're about to go on a journey with me, Sandy, I've got to know them inside and out, and my reputation is on the line. So what do you talk about then?
Anything. Literally anything.
So you've sat down with Arina. You're at the bar.
Yeah.
I've got a feeling that this is never done in the office. In fact, I've spoken to every leader that I speak to. Say, we don't do business in the office.
I've never
So
seen
tell me,
anybody
what
in
would you
my-
ask Arina in that first meeting?
Well, we've probably spoken on the phone first. Anyway, I very rarely meet somebody where we haven't had a conversation. So in that conversation, I found out where they live, they're married, or if they have a partner, if they have children, if they have a dog, if they have, their mum is a politician. I mean, we found out stuff just from that first conversation. And then we'll just pick up on one of those. And I'm a typical bloke, if I'm interviewing a bloke and it's sports, God, you see the football last week.
Right.
Or I went to the Twickenham rugby, the corporate thing, it was terrible, it bored me to tears, or whatever. And it'd start a conversation, or it could be anything. It literally could be anything. I've spent two hours, and I use the word interview loosely, sitting with a potential candidate, chatting away, and not mentioned once the word cyber or any of the terms within cyber. Not once.
All this time, I've been trying to remember what we spoke, and I can't name a single topic, to be honest.
The hours fly by.
But the one thing I do remember is that the first time I met Mike, he took me for tea So we had tea and cake, just talking about, blokes and ladies.
Tresh, you have this way of just uncovering something about that individual where like with Arina, it was books and ladies. But there was something that she was going to have an interest in it. She could talk forever on it. So you want to get that person talking.
Well, we were talking really. I'd met Arina all but very, very briefly some years ago. I think you were asked to do a meeting with me because somebody wasn't there that day or two. So we had a coffee and stuff and chat away. And then I hadn't seen her again for a while. And I'm working in the Asia Pacific region at the minute.
Yeah.
And we're looking. A very good friend of mine has taken on a head of cyber rollout in that geography. And we were talking one day, and he reminded me of Arina. And he said, look, I think it's some years since you and he had been having a conversation, but I remembered you being from Eastern Europe, and I remembered you'd been working in Germany, and I remembered you'd been working in the US, and then I knew that you had a London base and had a UK nationality. So I presumed it was a dual with something. And I knew you were in cyber. The reason I wanted to really speak with Arina is because she left her home country at a very young age and forged a career in 3 major commercial business centres around the world and had done very well. Yeah. That's the reason I wanted to talk to Arina.
One of the areas that you could support a candidate for a partner role, there are many, and we've spoken about the hiring process. In that process is the business case, and it's towards the end as well. So you've been on this journey for about 6, maybe 12 months. You know the candidate really well, and there's this point where they need to present internally to a panel.
Yeah.
All partners, I'm assuming?
Yeah.
Yeah. So they're all peers, and they are ready to, hopefully, they're hungry by this point because they've been on quite a journey already.
Oh, God, yeah, they want the job now.
Yeah.
By this time. I mean, there's no point in putting yourself through that kind of misery and fear if you don't really want this.
On both sides?
Yeah, because it's just been such a waste of time.
Exactly.
A small story always best illustrates these points. In the old days, the partners, the firm was small enough to have a single entity partnership, a global partnership. As they all grew, then they carved the world up into different partner group regions. Anyway, so we'd have people interviewed 14, 15 times. And my client at the time had the final interview before the panel was always in New York, unless a particular individual happened to be in London and the candidate happened to be in London, so they could do it in London. But generally it was New York. And the guy who was the final interview before the panel in New York was, we used to call him the hatchet man. Okay, he was a tough guy and brilliant. I mean, absolutely brilliant, and but a tough man. So I had a candidate go through 14 interviews and do very well, and everybody wanted him. So the last stage was to see this particular guy in New York before his panel. So they offered him the opportunity to fly to New York, spend the weekend there. By all means, it was a male, so they said, would you like to bring your partner? It happened to be his wife. So they jumped on the plane. Deloitte provided 2 business class seats for them, lovely hotel in Manhattan. And so they arrive, and I think it was on a Thursday, and his interview was on the Friday morning. They were going to then stay the weekend for some sightseeing and stuff. And so he got himself ready on the Friday morning and turned up at this guy's office at 9 a.m. To be introduced, sat down, and he just shuffled through all the paperwork that had happened so far and feedback and so on. And then he asked him 2 or 3 questions, okay? And it doesn't matter what the questions were, but they were challenging questions. My guess was that 2 were about him and 1 was about work. And this took, by the time he'd answered, the bloke's name was Steve, my bloke was called Stephen. And by the time Stephen had answered the three, he'd been in the interview now for 25 minutes. The hatchet man got up and said, let me see you out to the lift. And so Stephen was a bit, I've only been here 25 minutes. When they both stood up, the hatchet man said, thank you so much for coming. Was the flight good? And Stephen said, yeah, it was fine. It's great. How's the hotel room? Is it everything you'd hoped for? Yeah, it's absolutely fine. It's great. And, if you've got things to do over the weekend and got dinner booked Saturday, we can recommend some restaurants for you. And he said, I'd really like to have a good weekend with your wife and then a good flight home on Monday. You haven't got the job, but enjoy the weekend. Thank you so much for coming.
Harsh.
So I'm back in London wanting to rip my eyes out now because we'd put in an awful lot of work. And he was there in that meeting for 25 minutes before the hatchet man, I won't mention his name, he might not be with us anymore. Please God he is, because he was a lovely bloke, really. He was a really admirable man and entirely honest, humble. And he just said no.
I've never known for a hiring manager to give the decision at the lift.
It's a different world, the world I work in. It's not like the very structured corporate world. It's just not like that.
How interesting.
I never have HR involved in any process.
You never have
No.
HR?
I've never run a partner recruitment where the HR person for this particular silo or particular business stream has been told of my existence on this project and that we were the headhunters involved and we'll be running the process from that point of view, and then I never see them or hear from them again.
So you only deal with partners?
And the candidates are only ever interviewed by partners. Now, both my client and their competitors in the Big Four will say, well, that's changing now. We've got HR and we're doing critical thinking tests and we're doing this and we're doing that, and we make the candidates stand on their head in a corner and tip a bucket of cold water over them while they answer a certain series and all this kind of stuff. And I've got nothing against any of that. I really haven't. But I tell you what, if you're involved in HR and recruitment and you're doing leadership level, you need to know what you're doing. Because part of your job will be doing what I do, and that is to assess this particular candidate's suitability for this role. And by the way, your firm is going to pay them a lot of dough, a lot of money. So you need to be at least, not as good, I don't mean it like that, but at least aware of everything as I am. Never seen them.
They
never
can't
been
be.
part of it, never been part of the offer, never been part of any part of the internal documentation. They just, in my experience, they're just not involved.
They don't have that depth of knowledge about about cyber.
I think in my world they become nobody can see what value they add to the process. Now, that might be, I might have just wiped out 500,000 people from watching this because they're all HR executives. And I don't mean it rudely.
Sure.
It's just that they have to go and see all these other people.
Yeah.
And just they don't need to see you. Now, if you're a very proactive HR executive and you want to become part, I'm sure, yes, of course you can. Come, you can see them. Why don't you go and have a drink with them or something? I've never, ever.
Well, I guess that's why nowadays they also have talent acquisition, which is separate from HR.
Yeah.
So if you think of HR as more of guardians of the policies and procedures and making sure that the culture is maintained and all of those things in the organization, talent acquisition then is still separate because it's a slightly different angle, or it's a completely different angle to start with. And it's not, I don't know if it sits in HR or not, but it is an animal of itself.
Well, everybody calls themselves a talent acquisition executive now. Where did that job title come from? Just out of interest, does anyone know? It suddenly appeared. I'm a talent. It's an interesting one, isn't it?
It's been around for a while. It has been around for a while. I have seen it a lot in Microsoft and Google, so talent acquisition. I've seen HR be called human capital as well in a company like Goldman. I think what you're saying is that talent acquisition don't need to be involved. You're right, Arina, that can sit as a function under HR. It's an independent function, but they've got Treasury, headhunter. They're not using their internal talent acquisition people. HR, it sounds like they only need to come in when it comes to putting the package together, the paperwork, right? There is this segment of the hiring process that I'm intrigued by first before we get to the package and what that looks like. But back to the business case, right? Because this is where you add a lot of value with your candidates. And Arina, you've probably been on both sides of the fence as well, as a candidate and maybe on the hiring side as well.
Not for the partners yet, but absolutely for consultants, which is a different business case, I have to say.
All right. Okay. So let's say then you've definitely been a candidate, obviously as a partner candidate. So you've got that experience. In your experience in Arina, what was the business case presentation?
It's coming back to what Mike was talking about. Partners are a part of the business, and they need to be bringing the business, and they need to be generating the business. So a business case is your way to describe how you see the market, where you see the opportunity, which client segment or industry that you want to focus on or you see the opportunity in, how you will get to that revenue generation. And you could describe your personal network. You can describe cross-selling opportunities with other existing revenue streams, partners, segments in the overall portfolio of services. And sort of you describe a trajectory, right? So you say, in the first year, I expect that, a part of the year you probably will be finding your feet, understanding how the organization works, building the capability, understanding what's currently is in play. But over the years, so over 2 to 3 years, you expect to generate a certain amount of business. Then, of course, you focus on a particular function, so your area of expertise that you think is going to grow. And within cybersecurity, that could be anything, right? It could be resilience, it could be digital transformation or security as part of digital transformation. It could be identity and access management, you name it, right? Privacy could be your area of expertise. And you believe that there is such a gap in the market that is not covered that will be growing, and there needs to be more focus put on it. Compliance is another one. Right now, there's so much regulation being released by the governments all over the world.
The more the merrier, really.
So security is very big on compliance, and regulation comes very often focused on resilience. So I think this would become one of the key areas of expertise. But you believe that this is an opportunity in the market that you'd like to cover. And then you describe as to what resources, what investment, or what help you need to get to grow the business. So a part of your business case is not only what you bring to the table and where the opportunity is, but what help, what investment, what other, resources you need for the firm to provide to make it a successful win-win situation. And as part of it also, I think, which is quite good to have, is everybody is going to ask you, and I've had it asked pretty much, I think, all the time, is what is your 90-day plan? So on the day one, on day 1 to day 90, 3 months, how do you envisage your journey? And that's really breaking it down into quite granular level. Sounds a bit presidential, I understand. But on the other hand, it is, you will be owning a part of the business. You will be running it. So describing how you see that trajectory materializing gives a lot of comfort and also gives an understanding to the other partner group that you know what you're talking about, that there is a level of detail and ownership.
That's a tough question as well. What you going to do in your first 90 days?
Is that a typical question?
Yeah.
Okay, so you can preempt the question because
Don't ask me the answer. I have no idea.
So this is interesting. So how much can you coach the candidate at this point?
Well, that's a key question. It always comes up. It always comes up. And the glib answer would be, well, I'm going to implement my business case.
Yeah.
But you can't really say. I wouldn't then shut up or faint, one of the two. But it's a tough question, though.
Where can you, at this point, create value for the candidate? You've got two customers, but the candidate, how can you provide value?
Okay, there's a strange thing in this world, and it doesn't just apply to the UK, of secrecy. People are reluctant to ask people how much they earn.
Yes.
Okay. Firms are reluctant to tell a third party what the earning package is sometimes, even though they've asked you to find people. It makes no sense. It makes absolutely no sense. So I'm glad you agree with that.
Yeah.
And there's lots of other things that people think shouldn't be said. And of course it should. Everything should be on the table. Everything should be on the table. So I want to know each interview in the process, who it's with, why it's with them. And I want to know what is therefore on the agenda for that meeting. So I'll say to the candidate, you're going to meet so-and-so. They're going to, they will be aware of what was said in your last interview, but I now want to focus on this particular area and talk about these issues. And so I want to know what they are. And there's always something left field. You always say to the candidate, that's what I've been briefed, and I've briefed you, but beware of the left field. Beware of something coming bang into this that is totally unexpected, out the blue. Yeah. And so they'll be aware of that in the back of their mind already. So generally, the interview goes as planned. They do talk about that particular agenda, and invariably there is something left field that comes in, and they have to bat that off and deal with it properly. But it's not such a surprise anymore. That it's there in their head that, hang on, I'm going to be aware, and they suddenly say, got it, I did that. What size shoes do you take? I mean, that's just silly, but you know what I mean? Something completely different. So they're aware of that already. So they're aware of what's 90% going to happen, and they're aware of the 10%. And so I want to know each one of those. And it's not. It's just courteous, really. They're very busy people are going to meet other very busy people, and they're going to discuss something in an interview process that means a lot to both parties. Yeah. So the least we can do is have some idea of what you want to achieve in this interview. Yeah. I think that's just a courteous thing to do. Now, many people who on my side of the fence don't do that. And many people on the client side of the fence feel that information should remain secret. And then you say to them, why? Yeah. Well, that's helping the candidate too much. Or, they'll be able to swat up on that.
Right.
And you think, well, no. It's the quality of your questioning that is the key here. Right. It's you, the client. It's you that have got to be good here. And it kind of keeps everyone on their toes. I just rush out and buy a beer, put my fingers in my ears and hope for the best, But do you know what I mean? Everybody has that. So the secretive thing again, why do we tell them? Why would you tell them?
Right. They're already under pressure, right?
So
don't need to aggravate. Yeah.
It's a bizarre situation, an interview.
And I'll tell you a good example of this. I had a lady being interviewed for a partner role in cyber in recent times, and she had to go, she went through about 10 interviews and had done all right, and they'd already decided to bring this lady in as a partner. Yeah. And then there was a lady, and she'll be now known as, like the guy in New York, this lady is now known as the gatekeeper. Okay.
I love the nicknames.
This was a lady who did all the sort of legals around the equity partnership, and my candidate had been in the interview process for about 4 months. They got in the interview room, and the lady, the gatekeeper, said, "I'm terribly sorry, I haven't even looked at your CV." So my candidate was a little surprised, and she said, "I'm sure somebody sent it to me," and got out her mobile phone and started going through the phone to find this lady's CV. When I heard this, I just went absolutely, completely berserk. I thought that was an outrageous thing to do. Even if it was some kind of test,
Sure.
it was an outrageous thing to do. And I wouldn't have blamed my candidate for just getting up and walking out. And in fact, what I would have done is to have got up and said, "Thank you very much for your time so far. Clearly you're unprepared for this meeting. Could we reschedule it when you're in a better position?" And leave. Just leave. And I'd loved my candidate to have done that. But she bottled out and sort of tried to muddle through this terrible, terrible interview. And it was in the process, that was the only lady, client side, who was in the process, who did that.
Interesting.
So that was interesting.
Yes.
That was really interesting.
Women can be quite mean to women.
Women can be really unpleasant.
Yeah.
And the kind of the sort of diagram I can draw about that is, the client side lady is saying, "I've had to struggle and fight and kill and hunt and do all that to get to my position. I'm not just going to stand here and open the door for you.
Oh my gosh.
You're going to have to do that too." And I've come across that so often in the last 10 years.
The rite of passage, almost.
Rite of passage, thank you. And I find it odd. I find it unnecessary. I find it rude. And I don't see the point in it. If you've cleared the field of all the obstacles and you've made life a lot easier for your gender or for your colleagues or whatever,
Yes.
then throw the doors open, cheer and be happy about it. And I found, to behave in such a fashion was just awful. And it suddenly my client and everything I love about it almost vanished.
Oh.
I was talking earlier on about its culture and its this and its kindness and all this kind of stuff and its empathy and its ability to be fair and all these wonderful things. That was almost shattered in that half an hour, 45 minutes in that meeting room with that behaviour.
Yeah, that is devastating for the candidate, I think. And
it's just awful.
I have heard a lot of female leaders say to me that their allies have been men.
Yeah.
I don't want to generalize too much, but I wonder also, Trej, so what you've done here, you have minimize the amount of ambiguity in the hiring process.
Yeah.
You've added a lot more clarity, which is how you would expect any business meeting to be conducted to get the best out from both sides. So you've added clarity and less ambiguity. You've guided the candidate on the personality of the interviewers as well, because you know them so well.
Yeah.
Again, that's comforting to know. No one's cheating here, because before you'd go to a business meeting, you would have done all of this homework as well, right?
Yeah.
So, but however, you've got them right up to the business case. There's a limit here as to how much you can guide them.
Yeah.
What can you tell them about the business case? You said already that it's generally about the first 90 days.
Well, you've got 90 days, and then it's about, I think the business case, the 90 days is another question. Right. It's about, that follows the business case. With the business case, I know from working with the hiring partner group at the client, what the expectation is on this individual, particularly after 7 or 8, 9 interviews. You're getting a really good idea. And I think I think we advise on the whole thing about how you put it together. I mean, I remember Arina sent me hers, And we looked at it, and I said, we've got to get the money up. We've got to get the money up.
Right.
You know, it's not, I don't want you to be unrealistic, but we've got to somehow get the money up. So what can we add to the business case that helps you bring the money up?
Oh.
And, you know, that's because at the moment people are not going to get excited about you generating that amount of income. But if we can add a 50% on that, or we can double it or whatever, they'll get far more excited. But there's always a consequence of doing that. And the consequence is that more support is necessary to do this, and this. And then we can double the money or whatever it is. So that's the kind of conversations we have with the candidates. So I'm not going to do the business case and write it. They want the job, you write your business case, but I will look at it. I'll get my colleagues who are ex-Big Four partners to look at it.
Wow.
Particular individuals read, you know, hundreds of these over the years. And we want you to put a business case together that you're 100% confident with, but there's an obligation on the client side to meet your support demands within that case.
Yeah.
So once so if I go back and say, look, if we want Arina to generate 5 million next year, she's going to need a bigger team to do this, she's going to need this, that, and that. Is that going to be possible?
Wow. So set them up for
going to be possible? So my client will say, no, we ain't going to do that. We can't do that. So if we can't do that, what sort of revenue can we expect? And then, you know, well, in that case, this is what to expect. Now, if they're then unexcited about this, then we have a problem to overcome. And and I think there's an awful lot of broken promises in this business.
Oh, God, yeah.
People, oh, yes, of course we'll do that. I need to recruit 6 people. Yeah, no problem at all. A year later, you still have only got one of the 6 that you wanted, you know. And all those kind of things happen. So we've got to be very honest and very careful with ourselves. And I don't want to be party to somebody having a nervous breakdown in their first 90 days, because everything they've asked for and agreed to, in theory, is not happening. So they're now in a new job. Everything's different. And we're only 3-4 months into it, you know.
Yes.
It's,
So, Trez, you're very much like the Cupid here. You bring the candidate and the company together and you create these marriage terms, right? Before even the ringer is put on the finger, okay?
Yeah.
So it's like there's this commitment going on. You see, it's a marriage
diaries here.
There's a marriage going. It has to be a marriage made in heaven.
Yeah.
And therefore, when everyone's expectations are managed, and you've done almost like a prenup with all the terms, you know, you're writing a job description before it's been written, right? And therefore, you've set both sides up for success, a long-term marriage.
Yeah.
I love it.
Well, it is, and I think that's reflected in the fact that only, as I said earlier on, only 2 people that I've helped into the firm as a partner have ever left.
Gosh, yeah.
And one left because Richard Branson took him on, and he was seduced by Richard, and, you know, working for Branson and everything, all that kind of stuff. It's going back a few years. And the other one is a very difficult one to describe, why they left.
Only 2, though, in a career span that spreads decades, and that's saying a lot. When it does come to that point where you're negotiating the package, how creative can you get?
It's the client that has to be creative.
Right.
They have to come up. But I try and get this all out the way right at the start, or as near to the start as possible, because I don't want any surprises right at the end. So I'd need to be very clear on what it would take, what sort of package it would take for you to say yes to an offer, and what sort of package the client can realistically make. And are we there or thereabouts? So I want to get that on the table pretty quick.
If it's not money, what can it be? This is what I mean by
in the Big Four world, it's cash. It is cash is king.
Interesting.
Cash is king.
Right.
I've just had somebody move to the APAC region, as I mentioned again earlier on. So they relocated. Now, there's no set relocation package. They just said, what does he need? And then cash. And in the big four world, it's cash is king.
Yeah.
But
there's no negotiation there. It's just like, what does he need?
Yeah.
And you're going to offer a realistic.
Yeah, absolutely. Right. So there's a salary. There's usually some kind of, upfront bonus.
Right.
Maybe a further bonus down the line that's guaranteed. And what do you need to relocate? Well, I need to, get a flat. I need to do this. I need to do that. And in my estimation, it's going to come to 50 grand or whatever. Yeah. Okay, well, we'll pay you 50 grand. I'm not going to pay for all these little bits of stuff,
Sure.
Do you need to send your children to a private school? Yes. How much is that going to cost? Well, 10 grand a term. What's that? Okay, well, we'll pay the first year. Bang, there's 30 grand. I'm not going to pay the school fees. You are, but I'll give you the dough.
Got it.
So it's kind of, that's really the world I've lived in, and it's about money, and keeping things as simple as is possible. There's a lot of legals around the equity piece because of their responsibilities as an owner of the business, but that's a separate issue, and then the lawyers get into that.
Got it.
And they won't even get into that until you've said yes to an offer and you've signed your offer document. Then all the legal documents are drawn up, and then your responsibilities. But you know what a equity partner, what their legal responsibilities are. So that doesn't come as a surprise. Occasionally, you might need to go for a health check.
But as you mentioned before, nowadays all the partner packages across Big Four are pretty much the same.
Yeah.
Back in the day, they were not standardized.
Yeah.
There was no industry standard, I would say.
Yeah.
And nowadays, you would pretty much know what you were getting at each partnership level.
I'll tell you now, the first partner I placed in the Big Ten, if you want to call it that, in the first, it wasn't with my current client. The salary offered is the same as it would be offered today.
Wow. And we're talking inflation all this year, so
are you saying
so the first one I put in, the salary offer was 500,000.
Yeah.
Plus a bonus of 100,000. Now, if I was placing that person today, the offer would be 500,000 plus 100,000 bonus. No different.
So salaries are stagnant, therefore.
Well, they're not stagnant. It's just the value of somebody hasn't changed. What has changed is a lot of the firms in the more mature markets have introduced a level of non-equity partner. So that's very much salary driven, and you join just on a PAYE basis. So there's some movements around that, and they're generally lower because you don't have the same responsibilities if you were an equity partner. But the salaries generally, I mean, we had a mandate to go and find a mobile operator guru, and our retainer alone was 160,000 back in the day, and they were going to pay him $1 million, and that would have been in 1998.
Wow. You said developing economies, so is it different in Asia, Latin?
I think there are some differences and some cultural differences as well. Salaries are much different. I've worked in the last couple of years, South Africa, the Asia Pacific region, continental Europe as well. So talking perhaps the southern Europe, the Mediterranean countries, Greece, Malta, Italy. So there's a little bit of difference there between the sort of salary you earn in Germany or in the UK or in Switzerland. I did a paper a couple of years ago on, because Switzerland is such an expensive place to live and to employ people in, and 50% of the Swiss population speak fluent German.
Oh.
So they go into Germany to recruit because it's cheaper.
It's cheaper.
They get candidates for less money. And so there's all little nuances around the world that are different. But in the mature markets like the UK, US, the movement has been our fees going down rather than up. And I mean that's serious. I'm not moaning about that, but that's all changed. But salaries they haven't changed a lot for equity partners.
That's interesting.
Somebody could retain us tomorrow for a mobile operator guru. You wouldn't need one these days. At the time, it was such a new thing. But they could easily say, "Oh, we'll pay $1 million or whatever."
Only in '96, 500K would matter more and would earn you more than now. So actually, the salaries have declined.
They've declined, right? Because the cost of living in the Western world, at least, has gone up. So they've declined. If a candidate,
you're only paid twice a year, by the way.
No,
throw that one in.
The compensation is only you've got 6 months.
You probably won't get your first part of your compensation for probably nearly a year and a half.
Well, is that just typical in the West, or is that
very typical in the West,
right.
Typical elsewhere, similar, shall we say, rather than typical.
So you're waiting for maybe 18 months before you've got the full comp. Wow! So you need to have.
Well, you simply go to your bank and say, "I'm joining
That's right.
as an equity partner," and they look after it all. And you can have a draw, what they call a draw. So you can draw. What do I need each month to live as I want to live? And you draw that, and then it's all balanced up when your actual salary is paid, which might be 12 or 18 months down the line.
It's a different world.
It depends when you join as well, what part of the year you join in, and all that kind of stuff.
Oh, the intricacies.
Yeah.
Imagine I am a young woman. Let's take Arina. Okay? Let's take Arina. She's sitting right in front of us as cyber partner.
Yeah, one of the very famous, right? This woman.
So let's look at Arina and say, well, Arina, there's you don't have any family ties in the UK. You've got the cyber experience. Which region? And as you said before, Arina is very flexible to work in any region. Mm-hmm. She's not married to any one particular place. She's flexible, adaptable. Where should she go and work? Which of all of those regions and places is most lucrative for a partner today?
I think the most lucrative, because of its tax laws or lack of them, will be the Middle East.
Middle East.
Yeah, I mean, you can go and work in Dubai. I don't think you pay any tax.
No.
If you go to certain parts of the Far East, you'll pay Singapore, Hong Kong, you'll pay 10 or 15% tax. But nobody beats nothing. So I guess it's that part of the world. And there's a lot of, probably as many senior females go to the Middle East as males, which is interesting. They're prepared to go and live in a hotel and have a drink in a hotel and eat in a hotel for the next 10 years and make loads of dough.
Arina, let's talk about the partner on the job.
I was going to say, shall we? So now if that somebody has made a partner, and they've negotiated a beautiful package, whatever that is, in their geography, whatever that is, beautiful. Shall we talk about what makes a good partner?
One thing that will be consistent is the skills. So tell us.
And the skills, and actually I want to say there's quite a shift. If you are progressing through the ranks of Big Four or any consulting firm, very often you follow an expert-based route. So you're specialized in an area, again, can be compliance, for example, or identity and access management, or resilience. And you are incentivized and you are paid based on your utilization. How many projects you're in, and the better you are, the more client engaging you are, the more utilized you are. So that is the expert-based progression. Up until a certain point, when you reach a director level, when suddenly you should become more a business development connoisseur, guru, excuse me. And many people come into cyber from a technology background. And many people actually do not want to follow a business development route. But in order to progress to director and or to partner level, you then have to become more of a salesman. And I'm not talking the sleazy salesman or, the quintessential salesman that we all grew up and seen in the movies with. But still, it is not necessarily a natural skill set for a lot of people.
Yeah, I agree.
And to me then, a successful partner will have to merge the focus area and the expertise that they've grown up with potentially, or they bring on board, with the ability to build relationships, connect with people, manage a team, run a P&L, do a lot of events and marketing, and suddenly you kind of jump into almost a CEO type of job from being an expert on a particular area. And that's a bit daunting, I have to say. And that's why many people at a director level actually go into corporate and become CISOs, for example, which is an absolutely viable track as well and very lucrative. But you don't have to become a partner at all to be successful and make a career in cyber. So in order, I guess, to become a successful cyber partner, it almost sounds like you need to be a Swiss Army knife.
Yes.
A jack of all trades.
A jack of all trades, yes.
You said CISO. For our viewers, what's a CISO?
It's a Chief Information Security Officer.
Brilliant. Okay.
And that's also a leadership role, but it is focused on running a cyber team, running a cyber organization, cyber technology. So it does not have a target, and it actually does have a P&L in some cases, but you may not have a sales target as compared to a partner who does.
Yeah. It is, because really the partner, the leadership, if you go to the Big Four world, the leadership are the people, the hunter-gatherers. They are the ones that bring in the business, bring in the revenue. So I was saying earlier on, money's key always. And that kind of sales type thing does scare lots of people. They just don't want it. They don't want to take on that responsibility. And I don't know, to this day, people say, "Oh, what do you think, Trish? What do you think the great salesman is?" And I've put people into partner roles that are introvert, that are extrovert, that of all personality types, and most of them have been very successful.
Yeah.
So I think it's a very good story. Many years ago. The other three in the Big Four, apart from my client, so Deloitte, each of the other three sold their consulting business for reasons that don't really matter at the moment. But they all sold their consulting business, and they sold their consulting businesses into generally very large-scale tech firms. And it looked for a while that Deloitte would follow suit. Now, excuse me, anybody at Deloitte, for precising this story right down to some basics here, but it appeared that Deloitte were also going to do a similar thing. But there had been a kind of economic downturn, and the firm that they were going to work with, or the consulting business, to change their mind on the offer and lowered the offer, and came back and said, "Here's a much lower offer." And to their, I think, surprise, Deloitte told them what to do with their lower offer. So it left the Big Four with three without a consulting business, although all three still had their risk business and assurance business. And Deloitte could have everything still. And so the deal with the other three was that they couldn't start their own consulting business again for 5 years. So Deloitte had 5 years with plenty of competition out there. You had big, huge tech firms, Accenture, Capgemini, these big firms. But they didn't have any other Big Four as competition in the consulting piece. And boy, did they make hay while the sun shines. And a wonderful man, one of my heroes in the business, was the guy who headed up Deloitte's technology consulting business and built it into a formidable business. And he probably won't even remember that he was also a wonderful keyboard player. And he, I think, now is part of the management of a big symphony orchestra. He's retired from the Big Four world. Anyway, so he'll recognise who he is from me saying that. But a lovely man. And he probably won't remember this, but we were having breakfast, strangely, one day, just off Fleet Street. And I said, "I've been working with you for years, I still don't, what is it that makes a partner? What is it?" And he said, "Oh, Treasure, that's easy." I go, what is it? You know, I know if somebody will fit. He said, "That's easy. Pass me the napkin." So he passed me this napkin. He got his pen out, and he wrote 4 words: "A little bit of magic." He handed it to me. He said, "That's what makes a partner." And he's bang on. It's somebody, you were saying a Swiss Army knife, which is quite a really good description. It's somebody who is almost world class at everything they have to do. So they have to business develop, they have to deliver, they have to manage, they have to lead, they have to do internal stuff to make the working for the firm even better for people, and they have to do all sorts of stuff at the very top of their game. And it's tough. That's why you get paid loads of dough. It's really tough.
But then what we're saying is, because I think that's quite a conversation and a topic in the industry, technical expertise in cyber versus business development acumen.
Yeah.
And in order to become a successful partner, you don't need to be a technical genius.
Yeah.
In fact, probably by the time you're a partner, you are staying up to date with the trends, but you're more generalist.
Yeah.
Because you need to discuss cybersecurity at a business level, at the board level.
Yeah.
You won't be able to drill down into specific minute technology details anymore, but you don't need to.
Yeah. I think that's a very good point. I think it also depends the attitude of the partner. I was having a conversation very recently with a chum of mine running a business out in Asia, and we were saying that in a cautious, difficult market, clients tend to buy, and you may agree or disagree with this, tend to buy specific things they need. Okay, they're not going to, throw the doors open and say, "Oh, come and do all this huge," because it's a tight market, economy's down, all the rest of it. So you need to be leading a very technical team from the point of view of addressing those things that are popular today that the market will still buy, despite the economic conditions that we're working in. Now, in a bullish market, that changes, and the partner can be far more generalist because the market can take everything. You can even start piling back in all your entrepreneurship and say, you
I'm going to make a market.
We're going to make a market.
We're going to make a market. Yes.
We're going to make a market with this. And that's terrific. That's exciting, and that's why today I still work with my particular client, because in my view, over the years, they have been the most entrepreneurial firm.
Yes.
And I've admired their bravery and their courage to go and do this stuff. And sure, we can only really do it when there's a bullish market, but it's an interesting the way you have to adapt to different conditions you're working in, and you've got to lead through those. The same, I suppose, if you're CEO of Shell. I mean, you're navigating through stormy weather as much as when the sun shines bright. It's so you need your wits about you.
I think you've just identified that bit of magic, actually, the entrepreneurialism. Thinking about my recruiting days, we would bow down to the candidates with the entrepreneurial spirit. We wanted them so badly. Unfortunately, they didn't want us because they just wanted to set up their own businesses.
Yeah.
But we wanted, there are a breed like no other entrepreneurs. I mean, so we're talking about intrapreneurs if they're working for a partnership. But let's talk about this whole industry then, because we're going into a new digital revolution, the AI age. There's this shift happening. Maybe, Irina, you could start and elaborate. Talk to me about the future of cyber as a function.
I think cyber has come quite a long way. It started from a technical discipline. It started from infosecurity, InfoSec for short. It started from a few really technically savvy guys trying to protect information and data and all of that. And nowadays, it has evolved into again, a Swiss Army knife conversation. Cyber has become, first of all, a board-level discipline. So nowadays, the board takes responsibility for the cybersecurity posture of the firm. But it is now also, it's a legal conversation. It's a culture and awareness conversation. It's a financial risk conversation. It's obviously a technology conversation. So cyber has ballooned into a variety of disciplines, and we're asking our CISOs, Chief Information Security Officers, of doing all of that. So, and being experts and running the teams and making sure that everything is correct and is happening and organizations are protected. Employees are not clicking on the links. Physical security, now cyber security is also physical security in some cases. So as in, your turnkeys are working, and we know that wrong people cannot physically enter into the buildings or carry out stuff out of the buildings.
Yeah.
So that is now a part of cyber as well. So inevitably then the question becomes, should cyber continue as such? Because is it manageable? Are we taking a sliver of the entire organization and just calling it cybersecurity, and as a result, should actually cyber merge into everything that the organization does by default? And the more and more conversations that I'm hearing is that cyber should become a design principle and a rule that the organization follows from the beginning, rather than something that is a gatekeeper or a policeman that comes at the end of the process and saying, no, you can't do that. And that will change the perception that cyber is a nuisance, as something that you don't want to do, something that you want to avoid, rather than
a blocker.
A blocker.
Yeah.
And rather become a competitive advantage and an enabler of everything the organization does.
You could argue that cyber also perhaps slices in two in an organization where you have technology and you have to protect it, and that technology reaches every pore in that organization. And then you have the physical and cultural security, which is things like health and safety.
Yeah.
You know that we have to have these sort of things in place. There's regulation around all these areas. Boards of directors, if you do a lot of work in certain, let's put it, difficult parts of the world, and you've got a board of directors and some of them have to travel to that part of the world, there's a risk of kidnap and all that kind of stuff. So, they need to be protected. So there's a lot of physical protection as well as technology, but tech is the thing that tends nowadays to drive organizations. So its protection is absolutely critical, really, because should InfoSec be amalgamated into the CIO empire and be part of the rollout of, technology systems, transformations, whatever you want to call them, and another person looks after the other side of the sort of security, or should the whole package remain as a separate entity? And as you said, often at board level now. Complicating that now is you can almost see exactly the same thing happening with AI.
Let's go to AI.
Yeah, yes.
Take us there then.
No, I'm no expert by any kind of stretch. I'm still learning. But what I can see is that CEOs are continually and utterly under huge pressure to make money. And a huge part of that is to address your bottom line, your cost base. Yeah. And if you can reduce that, particularly in huge numbers, that's a score. I mean, you've done well. So everybody's talking about how AI is going to do this and this and this and this, and on the bottom line, it's going to be fantastic. So the pressure to implement AI systems, or however you want to phrase them, is huge.
Yeah.
On the other hand, you're talking, and you'll correct me if I'm wrong here, the organisation, whomever it is, if you've got 10, 25, 50,000, 100,000, 200,000 staff worldwide, and you're turning over billions and billions, the essence of your organization, the DNA is your data.
Yes.
And to run AI properly or efficiently or cost effective or however you want to call it, that data has to be well structured.
Yes.
And that just ain't happened. I think if you read some papers, maybe this might be going back a year or something, written by firms like McKinsey, like Boston, like some of the big strategy firms who are saying that, you're just not going to be able to take advantage of this in its fullest extent. And because only 30% of the data in this organization is structured properly, the rest of it is, bang, 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 bang. So already, do we implement these things when we know already that it might not be quite as good as it should be?
Right.
And that's classic. And I think that happened with cyber. Let's protect stuff way after it was built. And you end up protecting it, and all the bits that have happened since it was built that have gone a bit wrong or something. And so let's put a sticking plaster there, and let's put a bandage there, and let's do this there, which is great commercially, because if I'm a bandage man, and everybody needs bandage mans at the moment, boy, I'm in business.
Yes.
But if they want a large-scale transformation on a brand new project from A to B, all in one go, I'm not your man. I only am for that little bit because it won't need any bandages yet.
Yeah.
So again, a bit glib way of putting it, but you know what I mean. Already they're going to start basing AI on a structure that's not perhaps competent enough to cope or to allow you to take maximum advantage. Now, I'm sure firms are addressing that with data cleansing, and all that data and all the good things. But you can see the pressure people are under. And I heard a story the other day. A lot of people would say we're putting AI into the business as an addition to the human experience. It's going to enhance it. It's going to walk hand in hand with the human experience. And indeed, in some sectors, I've been pestering one of my daughters who's in media planning and strategy, and her husband who's in the same, because they use AI, and you can see what they're using it for.
Yeah.
But another organisation who is one of the world's biggest retailers, who had thousands of staff in call centres around the world, have now replaced those call centre operatives with AI.
Oh, is that IKEA?
It is.
Heard, yeah. I heard of that, yeah.
Yeah, and so I read.
I've read it somewhere. Yeah,
I'm probably going to hit people from IKEA knocking on the door tonight. But and I think hello, I'm the IKEA hitman. I'm in a box. You've got to put me together first. So anyway.
I bet it's not unique. I bet it's happening across retail.
Well, and you think, well, okay, so you've made, and they say, well, we've offered all these operatives other jobs. We're doing what exactly? Interior designers. Okay.
Taking call center employees and
put them into
offering them
designer type roles.
Now, I'm sure one or two could become brilliant interior designers, but I'm not sure, and that's no disrespect because they're brilliant call center operatives. Yes. They just are not trained to come to me and say, I tell you what, I'm going to redesign your kitchen for you, or your house, or your this, or your that. I'm not sure that I would think that they could do that. Maybe they can, and I'm doing them a disservice. But I just couldn't. I just couldn't handle that. For me, I thought that's just nonsense. You just replace these people, and you're saving millions.
That's daunting for employees, for sure.
So there's certain professions, certain jobs, certain areas where there is no doubt to the layman like me that AI will be used to replace human performance. And then you can say, well, that's fantastic because I don't have to worry about recruiting. I don't have resource constraints. I don't have this. I can just use AI. So it's going to change. Whether it be quite the same extent of change that the internet had on business.
Oh, for sure.
Then that's arguable. Some people would say it'll have more effect.
Yeah.
I'm still to be convinced, but that's just me. But I can't. I see it as a massive cost-saving tool, a massive cost-saving tool. And I think anybody who tries to dilute that is just being silly. It's just being silly because that ain't what you're using it for. You've just replaced thousands of people.
Yes.
Do you think AI will replace headhunters? Because we are all trained, well, now we're all trained that our CVs, when we submit them, are processed through AI, which means you need to have certain keywords, and certain keywords need to be searchable by AI to be even passed to a human person to review the CV.
Yeah.
Can they do?
Can AI explore and find personality? Or can it
Question
just
mark, right? Because again, if they're looking for published, if you train AI to look for published content, for keywords, for things like that, can they do it faster, cheaper, better?
I think there's a great possibility they can. And I think the other thing as well, certainly what I do is our market share, if you want to call it that, is diminishing. There's no doubt about that at all. It's definitely diminishing. And it's diminishing for a variety of reasons, one of which I read recently was a law firm in New York had offered all their partners, because most law firms are limited liability partnerships, so they'd offer most of their partners a $50,000 bounty to bring in new people. So if I'm a partner at Fred Blogg's Law, I know I want to get somebody on board, I know you're the one for me, I'll go and get you. I don't need to hire Treasure. I'll go and get you, and boy, I'll get a $50,000 bonus.
The referral process.
Yeah.
So not AI at all.
Not AI.
AI
That's
at
not
all.
even AI. Now, if you say that, and then you think, well, why on earth haven't you been doing this? Why on earth? Well, they haven't got time because they've got pressures, they've got other things to do and all the rest of it. But if they know, I'm ringing you up and I said, do you know somebody who's really good at this, at threat detection? And you go, boy, yeah, I know somebody who's really good at that. And then, boy, you need a threat detection expert. You don't need me to go and get them. You know them already. You just ring them up and get them.
Well, actually, that says there is a sourcing problem, because back in the day, folks were not doing it because they were busy with other stuff, with day-to-day, with delivery, with sales, with all sorts of things. Yeah. Bringing friends or colleagues or anybody who they knew, who they thought they were a good candidate, was not maybe the first priority. Yeah. Also because the sourcing worked. So those candidates will be found by someone else, whether it is headhunters, whether it is HR, talent acquisition, or people would apply. But and you tell me now, because you would know better, but I think folks now are steering clear of traditional industries, so there are not as many good CVs going into banking or law firms or things like that, traditional professional services firms. I think a lot of people went into tech over recent years.
A lot of people are predicting that kind of, and again, I hate saying these sort of words only because I can't think of better ones, and it sounds like I'm being insulting really to people, but people define lower level tech jobs. Okay, I don't know what they're, probably things like help center. I mean, fantastic jobs. But jobs you're getting paid 30,000-40,000 a year for, you're not being paid 300,000 a year for. So, and the prediction is that those lower level jobs will just go.
Yes,
they'll just go.
Yes.
So how the market will evolve from that is that let's say 70% of jobs will go. That leaves the 30% of the leaders and the real thought leaders and strategists and stuff. They're going to become even more valuable. Okay, so the bottom half of the market will vanish. The top half will get even more expensive.
That's interesting.
Yeah. So that I quite like. I think that's an interesting one, because why shouldn't a machine program a machine?
Yes. Why couldn't a machine trade with another machine?
Yeah. Why don't you get a machine to write algorithms? Why am I going to do them? Do you know what I mean? I mean, I get getting a bit glib, but it's an interesting one. So AI will definitely have a massive effect on certain industries, no doubt about it. It's no point in it being AI if it doesn't.
Yeah. I think when I sat in this seat a few months ago and talked to one of our podcast guests called Tiger Tyagarajan, former CEO and president of Genpact.
Yeah.
He had said today AI will not replace human curiosity, so it could not replace Tresh. Your gut feeling that you get about another human being, no, it's not happening today.
Yeah.
It will get to the point where AGI will come in and it will be able to do anything that a human being can do.
Yeah.
But it's interesting what you said about this elite intellectual leadership level, which, yes, they'll become more expensive. There is going to be a place for elite intellectuals who are able to raise the collective intelligence.
It's going to create a new leader, isn't it?
A new leader, absolutely. And no one really knows today.
No, but loads of people think they do.
They do, don't they?
And already there are, whenever you bring out a new thing, so I got a new thing here, it's my glasses, it's this thing that, I've got some glasses here and a bit of old paper, but I've got some glasses here, and guess what? You know, there's that, and I can put my glasses in there, which is great, because then they don't get scratched.
Yeah.
Okay, so I know I can train a machine to do that. So, you know, it's, how can I put it? AI has created a new industry already, manufacturing those.
Yes.
For me to do that. Okay, so whenever you bring out a new thing, loads of industries start to hang off it. Events.
Yeah.
People going around the world. Awards.
Yeah.
This, that, the other. Whole industries. And cyber is just rife with them. It's like a minefield of other industries that hang on every breath cyber takes. And the same will happen with AI. And it's happening now. It's people getting in smart quick and saying, look, AI, we reckon strategically we can make a bomb over the next 3 years by doing this, by making this case. Soon everybody will buy one.
Yeah, right. It will become a commodity.
Yeah.
And I'm sure the day will come when we're not even talking about AI, because it'll be like saying,
oh,
have you seen technology? We don't, right? It's just a part of our life.
Absolutely.
We'll all have personal AIs, and it's going there already, where the AIs will trade with other AIs and they'll go and recruit from other AIs, because our personal AIs know us better than our mothers and fathers do. So we will get to that level where the agents are doing all the work and they're reporting to us, or we are buying from them. We are potentially talking about a new digital AI agent-driven economy as well. It's who knows, right?
It's going to be fabulous for public sector. From my point of view, public sector moans from the day I was born until yesterday, and only say yesterday because it might have changed this morning, and we've been sat here. So that they can't get people because they don't pay enough. You know, a cyber expert in government is probably on absolutely top end, about 100K, and that will be a leadership role in central government or one of the departments, certainly. And, you know, so if AI starts to be able to address that for public sector, then the public sector resource problem in not just AI and loads of stuff, but in if we're talking just cyber at the moment, then, you know, it's going to be a godsend to public sector. Absolute godsend.
I do think that we're heading towards a world that has more abundance, because there was a lot of scary talk about the AIs killing everything and everyone, but I do think that the future is bright. But let me just talk about the past and bring this home. Your past, specifically, Tresh. What did you grow in the past that a skill, a mindset, call it whatever, that has helped you to grow in something and excel in that thing today?
I had a wife and 2 children. I had to make money. It's as simple.
Reproduced.
I have a rather racy past.
We have a few minutes.
And I have an unusual past. when I'm sat amongst young people like you guys, because I was born in London, but I was raised in India, I was raised in Nigeria and America, and so I lived in a world that was hugely privileged. I mean, hugely privileged. So I had nannies, and my poor sister, who's older than me and sadly no longer with us, but she's a lot older than I am. She was produced to be what was perceived as a woman's role in those days. So she needed to cook well. Yeah. She needed how to make a bed. I'm not being disrespectful here at all. And that's just what it was like, you know. And there's no point in trying to say that it isn't or not talk about it, because it wasn't great. But for a young boy, oh my goodness, I didn't have to do anything. I never had to think. So if you look at that comment that your life is defined for you by how you develop from the age 0 to 4.
Yes.
It means that I had everybody should do stuff for me.
That was your.
And if I need money, I need a car, I need a guitar, I need a this, I need a that, it's just given to me. I just say I want it and it's there the next day or something. So that's a wonderful position to be in. But it also didn't breed a very competitive or ambitious individual, because I didn't need to be. I had everything I wanted. So my life took off from that point. And it wasn't until, and I just thought it was a party. My life was a party, but there was one thing I could do, and I had a reasonably decent ability to, as I said about work and why they've used Michael Treasure Associates, to judge a character. I had a reasonably good ability to do that, even through the rather murky and racy past. So.
Or maybe because you had such a racy, murky past, you saw quite a lot of characters.
The amount of perhaps people I hung out with that I shouldn't is probably terrible. But so that's my only skill. What can I do? And I thought initially I'd go and sell computers, because everybody's buying computers. So why shouldn't I be able to go and sell computers? I'll make a bomb, a fortune. So I rang up this advert for salesman for IBM, and it had a number on it, and I rang it, and a lady picked it up, and she said, "Well, I'll need to interview you first." So I came in, and she had a recruitment firm. And she said, "Well, I'll get you the interview." So I got an interview with IBM, and I got offered a position at IBM. And she called me up and said, "They're going to offer you." And I said, "Oh, fantastic, I can sell those." But already I knew I'd hate it. But anyway, it will do for a while. And when I got to her office, she said, "Why don't you come work for me?" So I said, "Well, I don't really know what the hell you do. You put an advert in the paper," and I rang up, and you got me an interview, and I got a job. And she said, "Yeah, well, we get a fee for doing that." Blah, blah, blah. I said, "Come and work for me." And I said, "Well, why the hell do you think I can do this?" She said, "What's your name?" I said, "Treasure." She said, "Well, I'll tell you for why. In my family, we've had 3 dogs. Each of them we call Treasure. This has to be an omen." She offered me the job, I accepted it, and I started on the Monday.
So she saw the potential.
I suppose so. Just thought I was a mousy.
Or it just tells you that it's the right place, right time, and a bit of luck that determines your career.
And suddenly it was something I could do and be relatively successful doing, and then it just grew from there.
You're a natural salesman. You're a storyteller. Okay, you're a storyteller. I mean that in the most endearing way. What was that magic that she saw in you then? That you said the thing that you, in the past, you were able to grow in understanding people. Was that the thing? That was the thing.
I think that was the essential criteria, if you like.
Right.
I was a judge of character. I think what she saw in me was a certain flamboyance.
Yes.
She saw a certain amount of front. Fearlessness, but based on very little other than the fact that I'd never have to lift a knife and fork. So I was extremely confident because I could tell you to go and do it. So I had that authority in me to say, I tell you, go and get me a coffee. And you go, yeah, sure, go and get it. And I said, why did you do that?
Oh, yeah.
Why on earth did you go and get me that? I would have told you to stuff it and get it yourself. But most people I asked went and got it. And I think she just saw, hang on, you've got the perseverance, you've got the front, and you've got the bottle to do this. And it was frontier stuff in those days.
Yeah.
You know, it was, there wasn't the defined stuff. There's people I know who are still alive like me, who came from all sorts of areas to become, headhunters, ex-policemen, Lord so-and-so's son, or whatever. I mean, it was a hodgepodge. And I think we all had that common denominator that I could land in New York with sixpence in my pocket, but I would survive.
I think it goes
because
back.
I could blast my way through.
You could blast your way through, and I think what it is, Trej, based on my own experience, it is that authenticity. It's that word that you used right at the beginning. There is no one else like you in my life. I don't know another person, individual like you. I thought you were going to say the love for music, but that's another time, another story for another day.
That's what I work for. I love it. Music.
You live for music.
It's music, yeah.
And it's rock music.
It's to be strictly accurate. There's a music that comes under a banner called Americana, and what that is, it's really strange. When I grew up, all the British rock bands and blues bands and so on were playing American folk music, and American folk music, aka the blues, was predominantly came from the southern states and the black community who were formerly slaves and so on. And I loved American folk music. And all the Brits were playing that well. And then suddenly the Americans heard about us playing their folk music and started doing it themselves again. And some of the bands that were spawned from that thinking were just, for me, they just make my knees wiggle. I mean, they're just stunning. I mean, as players, they're brilliant musicians. As songwriters, particularly lyricists, stunning. And I just love it. And if I could change my life, if I could have taken another route, then I would have stuck with music.
So you are a rich man on many levels, whether it's family, career, hobbies. Yeah, you've got it all.
I'm not sure the missus would agree.
Trej, thank you so much.
Pleasure.
Real
Absolute
pleasure. Thank you. And Arina as well.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you.
At the company, we have over 200 people that are creatives, not engineers. Okay. Creative people that were very scared. So my first reaction, it was, instead of trying to move like the whole company to AI, it's like, let's try to move a tiny part of the company. Let's make it like a tiny team, a little bit in secrecy, to build the new AI in Freepik. And let's get that in motion and then expand that to the rest of the company.